Hey, Joe, you're the man. The only reason I'm on this call today is because of you. So appreciate all the probably all the good articles, all the bad articles up in Detroit and East Lansing.
Yeah,
not that I ever read any bad ones.
Oh, right.
Good ones, but
no, you guys never read anything. You never read anything, right?
Hey, Joe, you think we're kidding when we say that?
Yes, I don't buy that at all.
Don't.
Like you never read anything. You never read anything?
I would read a good article if my wife said read it. Other than that, I would never read anything. Like, number one, you don't have time, and number two, it doesn't matter. And you really can our kids can get messed up. Our players can get messed up. I tell our guys to stay off Twitter during the season. I tell them to do not read that stuff. I'm telling you, it is bad.
It's like
it can mess a guy up.
Well, it's like rat poison, right? I mean, that's like the Saban term. So the good can be bad poison too. But I guess I just always feel like if you always try to put yourself in someone's shoes. It's like, but how do you just totally block it out? Like how I understand I understand why you'd want to.
Yeah. Because it's really simple to not. I mean, it's simple because it can mess you up.
Yeah.
And I think I remember. I forget even what the article was about, but I think you and my wife had a nice article at one point that I read. But those are like she's like, oh, you got to read it. So. And I got my dog. I'm at home this morning. My dog comes up. She's licking me in the face here this morning, Joe. I mean, she must know you're on the phone.
Well, speaking of your family,
let's get to business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and Donna, of course, I had to go through the boss to make this happen too. So I want to say shout out to her and your family, awesome family. But yeah, this matchup, Pat, you have seen Josh Heupel. You've coached against Josh Heupel a couple times recently. So without giving away the game plan and everything you've seen this week, is this going to be very similar in matchup, or is the personnel so different that you can't really look at those two games against UCF and take a ton from them?
Well, you can take a ton from them because it's Josh Heupel. And let me just tell you, you guys got a great football coach down there that's going to build something I think pretty darn good. Offensively, what they do is it's hard to defend. They spread you out, but I think the difference between UCF and what he's got at Tennessee is probably just the offensive line. I mean, so you're looking at different offensive line. They don't have a lot of depth on the offensive line, but if Mays gets hurt again or whatever, I know he got banged up last week, got hit pretty good. Maybe they don't have a lot of depth in the recruiting will help that, but their skill positions are like UCF. I mean, UCF had some great skill. Again, they can find them down in Florida. So, and I know Tennessee does. So their receivers are unbelievable. Their O-line's really good. The running backs are good. So I think the advantage they have is now they have an offensive line that's a Power 5. I think they're really good. So they're going to be able to protect the quarterback, which we got after them the last time we played them here at Heinz Field. And they got after us, the year before with Milton McKenzie down in Orlando. So they're a good football team, and Tennessee is going to be they're going to be somebody people in the SEC are going to have to reckon with for a while.
Pat, when you look at Joe Milton on tape, especially with the physical profile that he brings to the table and all the different things that he can do, I guess what stands out the most when you watch tape of Joe Milton?
What stands out is he didn't make bad decisions. Last weekend, he is big. He's physical looking. I've had coaches tell me just don't look down that end of the field and look at him pregame because he is beautiful looking. He's got a cannon arm. He's going to make every throw he can make. He's a big dude. So could he be more accurate? Yeah. But he is special.
So, Pat, over those years covering you at Michigan State, I mean, it was fascinating to me watching, what you guys did on defense. I didn't even realize the extent of this until last summer. Actually, I did a thing on Ohio State, because Mike Vrabel's here, and those guys were telling me that they had a coach assigned to basically studying your D. And, as you know, I mean, basically I think it would have been after you guys beat them in the Big Ten title game, they basically did your defense the next year. They won the national championship. Is your defense, is this basically the same defense? Like, is it significantly changed at all, or is it still, that quarters as a base and all the exotic blitzes, basically the same thing it's been for a long time?
Yes, it's the same exact thing. I've got Randy Bates came in from Northwestern as my D coordinator. He's done an excellent job of leading the defense, our coaches and our players, to run the same defense. Again, I don't call the defenses, but I'm in every meeting and making sure it gets done the right way. So it is that exact defense, and we've had a lot of success with it through the years.
What I know that obviously in football, I mean, everyone, I guess, eventually copies everyone to some extent and adjusts to things. Like even the offense you're facing this week, right? Like a few years ago, probably harder for teams to deal with, right? Just because it was newer. But what is that like as a coach? One, to be able to be in a consistent system that's successful, but also to have your peers sort of borrow stuff like that, for lack of a better term.
When I'm retired, that'll matter. I mean, for years we didn't. All our coaches at Michigan State never went out and talked about our defense. We just, you weren't allowed, and I just told everybody, like, do not talk about this. Don't, you can talk about some of our, fundamentals and all that stuff, techniques, and talk about our base defense, but we never talked about what made us special, which is kind of the way we blitz and how we did that stuff. People stole it off the tape, so it's flattering in a way, but I don't like seeing people use it against you to beat you either. So it's leaked out. I mean, Clemson does it, Georgia does it. You'll see them. Run some of our blitz coverage, which, is crazy stuff, but people are doing it. And I know Alabama hadn't done it yet. From inside sources, they say he's still scared to do it because he doesn't get it. It's some scary. And if Saban's scared, that means it's some crazy stuff.
That's right. Oh, that's awesome. Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Pat, as a coach, when you have a quarterback like Kenny Pickett and just the tools that he brings to the table, the experience he brings to the table, how much of a plus is that for you and your group offensively when you've got a leader like that at quarterback?
It's a big plus. I'm happy we're not going down to play in front of 100,000 people with a backup number one, which we did a few times last year, or a guy in his first year of playing. So Kenny's experience, he's played in these big games. He's a leader. He'll manage that offense the right way, and he'll give us a chance to go down there and have a successful day.
Yeah, and on that matchup, Pat, I mean, it's obviously tough. I'm sure for both sides. You guys against UMass and them against Bowling Green. I mean, there's a certain level of just domination up front that you have in those games that now, that you're not going to have this week for either side probably, or in a lot of other games. So when you look at Tennessee's defense, I mean, what can you – they've got obviously a transfer at inside linebacker, Tyler Barron coming off the edge, some pretty good experience in the secondary. What is your assessment that you can tell us of that Tennessee defense?
I love their defense. They get after it. That guy 51 inside, I don't have my depth chart on me, but 51, their nose tackle, D tackle. That guy's a beast. I don't care who he was playing against. He was making them look silly. I like the way they play up front. I mean, for us to have success down there, we're going to have to control those inside guys and control the edge. I think their D-line, sets the tone up front, and they've got some guys that look like they can play anywhere in the country and be playing at the next level.
Pat, I want to get your thoughts on Rashad Weaver. Obviously, Titans fans here very excited about Rashad Weaver and what he could bring to the table. Obviously, a guy you're very familiar with. How do you think his game is going to translate to the NFL level?
I saw that outside linebacker name on the back, on the end of his name there, because it sounds like they're playing him. And I haven't watched much tape, Joe, so I couldn't tell you. But number one, Rashad Weaver is an incredible kid, just an unbelievable football player. I mean, and again, I can't speak more highly of him off the field as I can on the field. Like, he's a superb individual. It speaks to what Pittsburgh means to him. He's a Florida guy, gets 4 days off in the NFL, and he's back in Pittsburgh at our game last Saturday. So he's an incredible player. I think he's going to be a great player for the Titans. I think they got a great pickup. Like I said, I haven't watched any tape to see how he fits into Coach Vrabel's defense down there, but he's a guy that's as smart a defensive end as I've ever coached. So it doesn't surprise me that he can be in that outside linebacker position, which maybe it's just a stand-up defensive end in the 3-4. But he, through the next couple of years, he's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and get smarter and more experienced in that defense.
So, Pat, I wanted to ask you just about college football. How are you feeling about college football right now? I mean, so much has happened just in a short period of time. Obviously, the portal's got thousands of names in it right now. You've got name, image, likeness. You got the SEC out grabbing, Texas and Oklahoma. Like, what is your state of the union right now in college football? How do you feel about being a head coach right now in this game?
Well, I'm glad I'm an old head coach. I'm glad I'm not 35 years old and have to deal with this for another 25 years. But it's chaotic right now, I think. Someone needs to get a hold of, what's going on. I think that, I think really what the ACC's done, I think our commissioner's gotten together, just with some other conferences, Power 5 conferences, and built that alliance just to try to get some stability and make sure this thing doesn't get out of control. I think everybody still loves college football. I think this country's not the same without college football, and I love pro football as well. But we can't have, college football, semi-pro football and NFL football. And we just got to make sure we don't lose what we have. I think everybody loves where it is. I think, players, I'm happy for some of the name, image, and likeness stuff. I think it's going to be good stuff. Players deserve, more than they get. So I do agree with all that stuff. But we just got to get things under control and not let it get out of control. And I think it's starting to get out of control. And I think someone needs to start to lead, college football in a better direction than it's being led right now.
Do you like the, whenever it is happening, I think it's a when, not if, but the expanded playoff?
I do, but I think, I think there was some insider trading going on to get that whole thing going. I mean, all of a sudden, somebody steals two teams from one conference and they're also got their hands deep into, expanding this playoff, which might be lucrative to them. So I think there's some things like that going on that's maybe not so right, but I don't understand, as ACC head coaches, we've, talked a long time on Zoom calls through the last year. You go from 2 to 4. Who goes from 4 to 12? I mean, usually you gradually move it up and you go from 2 to 4 and then 4 to maybe 6 or 8 or whatever it is, whatever your magic number is. But, you don't go all the way up to 12. It just seemed like a major, major move. And there's a lot of ramifications from it that sometimes people don't look at. They're just looking at, one thing, maybe the money, but they don't think about the health and wellness of these players that are playing the game and what it does to them academically. I mean, they're still trying to get a degree. That's something that's important at the University of Pittsburgh, and it should be important across the country.
Well, Pat, we really appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Good luck against Tennessee coming up tomorrow. We're really looking forward to watching that game.
Sounds great, guys. We'll see you down there. Hopefully, Joe, I'll see you up in the press room afterwards, or what?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try to find Donna before the game. She still doesn't watch, right? Does she still turn away for the whole game?
Oh yeah, she's not. She's not watching. She didn't watch the game.
But yeah, I'll find you. I'll find you.
I may just tell her to stay home. Stay home and try to relax and have some fun or something. Go shopping.
Well, is she coming to Knoxville?
Yeah, she's supposed to be coming, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, I can't wait to see you guys play. Yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Pat.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You as well. Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. That was excellent stuff.
Yep, that is always excellent stuff with Pat Narduzzi.
We'll come back. We'll react a little bit to what Pat Narduzzi had to say there. Continue to look ahead to this game between Tennessee and Pittsburgh coming up. Take your thoughts as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The Nashville Predators are almost back. Hockey right around the corner, and regular season and preseason games in October, November, and December now on sale to the general public, and future months will go on sale in the coming weeks. The Nashville Predators can't wait to fill Bridgestone Arena with 17,159 of the best fans in sports once again. So don't miss out on the 16 exciting home games scheduled during the first 3 months of the season. If you'd like more information on Predators tickets, visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Once again, that's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5. The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank, conveniently serving Middle Tennessee with 13 locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Thanks to Pat Narduzzi for joining us on the show. Head coach of Pittsburgh, set to take on Tennessee tomorrow in the Johnny Majors Classic.
Sitting there with his dog.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And as Chris on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, points out, trolling Nick Saban at 6 a.m. I like this guy.
Yeah, that's the headline, right? Nick Saban, quote, scared to run my defense, says Pat Narduzzi.
That's awesome.
But it's true, like what I told him. I actually wrote a little bit about this week and in that piece in 2012, but like I didn't know it was this to this extent. There's some guys on the Titans staff who, of course, were with Vrabel at Ohio State. And Zach Kerr told me, he's like there was a coach who was assigned to, you study that defense and learn everything about it because it gave people such trouble. And it's just, I think it's rare. I mean, copycatting happens, all over the place. Anything that works, everybody, like a bunch of people are going to grab it, right? Just like this tempo offense. And yet he still does what he does. And it works. Works pretty well. And obviously, you got to have good players. I mean, they sent 5 defensive players to the NFL draft. So, like, that's a big part of it, but it works. And it's interesting, too, with Heupel. I mean, if you are in the kind of like in the guts of a system and you feel like you can run it still better than all the copycatters, then you stick with it. And we've seen that with Heupel too. That's, again, why I think this is as nerdy as it may be. I think this is one of the better games Saturday. I mean, it's not a great schedule, so that's part of why.
Sure.
But I do.
This is a really fascinating game between Tennessee and Pittsburgh. And it's kind of the chess match of Narduzzi and the defense that Pittsburgh brings to the table, Heupel and his tempo offense. And, Narduzzi was talking earlier this week about, the tempo was fast at UCF. He feels like it's gotten faster through the first game at Tennessee. So interested to see how Pittsburgh's able to handle that. And, honestly, whether or not Tennessee can keep going at that speed and execute, because execution a bit of a problem last week in the passing game.
Yeah, well, and this is where I think that this is where the tempo, it has to help you. It has to help you, just try to get them a little bit out of position. Obviously, you don't let them sub. Get it out fast, and then you're going to get shots. I mean, like that's the funny thing, too, about this defense. I mean, he says it, and you can see it. I watched UMass game last week. I'm like, there's 3 or 4 bombs UMass has if they can connect, and they didn't. Yep. So, I mean, Joe Milton is going to have vertical opportunities in this game. That this defense says, you go ahead. You see if you can hit that exactly right. I've seen teams do that on this defense, and when that happens, then you're in trouble. I mean, this exact defense, now Narduzzi was gone, but when they played Alabama in the playoff, Alabama just torched them, with the slot receiver, because in quarters, your safeties end up matched up basically in man with some good players sometimes. And so, now granted, when the slot receiver is Amari Cooper, well, that makes it even harder on your solid college safety, but that's one thing I do expect Tennessee to do is out of the slot. That's what you see a lot, is trying to go vertical out of the slot against this defense, because you will get a matchup. If they're in quarters, essentially, it's going to be man-to-man against the safety. So a Hyatt, a Callaway, somebody like that. And Pitt does have 3 new starters in that secondary too.
Charlie on Periscope says, LOL, Narduzzi is an SEC truther. Did get a couple shots in towards the end there of the college football playoff and the expansion of Texas and Oklahoma to the conference. That's good stuff by Narduzzi there.
Narduzzi gets some shots in.
Oh, yeah.
Like when Urban Meyer came into the Big Ten on the recruiting front, he got some shots in. There was no love lost between those staffs.
College football needs more of this. Just get some guys in there that are not afraid to speak their minds.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, he's had a successful tenure at Pittsburgh. They need, I feel like they're still waiting for that breakthrough year. I think this could be a breakthrough year for them with Kenny Pickett, a really good quarterback. But this game, it's just like with Tennessee, you look at the importance of this game in terms of, being bowl eligible. Pittsburgh's got to win this game to have the kind of season it wants. And, yeah, Pat Narduzzi does not get utilized enough in media because it's never, ever boring. And it's almost always, more honest than most coaches are willing to be.
Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ricky texting in. College football needs more Italian head coaches with an attitude like this guy. He's my new favorite coach in college football. I also love how he called the SEC out for robbing teams because it's beneficial to them for the playoff. And hands in the pocket, total Italian reference. Love this guy. Have a great day.
There you go.
I completely
big
agree.
Pat Narduzzi fan.
Yeah, it's.
I enjoyed every second of that interview. That was awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to replay that later.
Believe we will.
For the late risers.
The late risers, 9 o'clock. We'll replay the Pat Narduzzi interview, which this is going to be interesting. Now, this is not the first time, and he brought this up, that Narduzzi has seen a Josh Heupel offense. He played against UCF twice and has coached against Josh Heupel and that offense twice when Heupel was at UCF. So there is some familiarity there, and I'm interested in round 3 how this one goes, what adjustments have been made on both sides. And obviously, there's a big personnel difference when you switch from UCF to Tennessee, and he talked about it probably most notably on the offensive line. This Tennessee offensive line should be in a much better position to control the line of scrimmage than the O-line at UCF.
Yeah,
if they stay healthy and if they've got their bodies available.
Right, and that's I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's kind of obvious that would be the difference, but it's a notable thing. It's something worth pointing out. I mean, those UCF teams did not have guys like this. Yeah, Cooper Mays, big key there. And Narduzzi had nice things to say there about Josh Heupel, but I will say this: when they hired Heupel, I mean, I wanted Narduzzi's opinion, and he was like, yeah, great coach. So, I mean, honestly, his just reaction at the time made me more optimistic about Heupel, and it's a guy who has seen him. Now, it doesn't mean just because he likes him as a coach and they've had good games or whatever that means it's going to translate to SEC success or what Tennessee fans want. But he's got a lot of respect for him, and yeah, those two games with Milton, it was UCF rolling.
Yeah.
And then the next year in 19, it was like a great game, 1-point game, the Pitt special. They did the Philly special, but they called it the Pitt special too. I think that was either the 2-point conversion or
he talked about that this week.
QB. Yeah.
Narduzzi said, they'll be ready for the Pitt special and we'll be ready for the tempo. That was the quote. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a very good game. And he picked out the guy that I think does stand out for Tennessee, especially if he has the stamina, because I thought he was so much better earlier in the game. But Elijah Simmons, 51, yep, that's Elijah Simmons. I mean, that's the guy to me who is going to be a big part of this defense being solid if it is this year.
We'll continue the discussion on Pittsburgh and Tennessee when we come back, including giving some keys to victory for Tennessee in this game. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Do you want to win a pair of tickets to see Stanford versus Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt Stadium on Saturday, September the 18th? Head over to YouTube and subscribe to the 1025 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter to win your way into the game. One winner will be chosen on Monday, September the 13th. So you're running out of time. Make sure you go over there and subscribe to the YouTube page. One winner will be chosen coming up next Monday. So get it done today would be my advice.
Get it done.
That's right.
Because everybody's working for the weekend.
That's right. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game, presented by Volunteer State Bank. Visit volstatebank.com to learn more about our free Kasasa checking account. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. A weekly tradition here on the show. Happens many times annually for that song to lead us into the segment here. Good stuff.
Yes.
It's a rite of passage.
Got to do it.
You do have to do it. It's not annual. It is weekly.
We still need to start, jamming some other Loverboy songs, but some deep
cuts. Go through the entire catalog.
Deep cuts, yeah. Canadian 80s rock. Doesn't get much better than
There's nothing
that.
better.
It's like Loverboy and Glass Tiger.
God. Never heard some Glass Tiger, but would love to hear it.
Yeah, the one song they had, if you heard it, then you'd be like, oh, yeah,
right.
Okay. They actually have Bryan Adams, helping out with the song.
Oh, wow.
If you find Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone by Glass Tiger, if you find that for an intro, you'll know it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do on that front. Talking Vols against Pittsburgh, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, we've talked a lot this week about this game, the different challenges that Pittsburgh's going to bring to the table defensively against Tennessee. We've not talked as much about the other side of the ball. I'm interested from a Tennessee defensive standpoint. Can their depth hold up? Can their line of scrimmage hold up and be not as dominant as they were last week? Because, that's just not realistic heading into this game. But can this line, and you talked about Simmons, I think Tyler Barron's a big part of this too. Can they be a legitimate factor and a big plus for Tennessee in this game? That's something I'm interested to see on that side of the ball. So if I had to ask you a couple of keys to victory, outside of the obvious of the quarterback play, because we know that may end up being the most important factor for Tennessee in this game, but outside of Joe Milton, what are a couple of keys in your mind to victory for Tennessee if they're going to walk away from Neyland Stadium tomorrow 2-0 on the season?
Well, it's another, I guess, obvious one. You could also do win the turnover battle and special teams don't have a big bust there, but I just think running the football is so key for both teams, and that's the hardest thing for me to really know. I know Pittsburgh's receivers are good. They've got some guys at receiver, and again, we've talked earlier in the week about Lucas Krull, the tight end, number 7. He's got to be a big point of emphasis for Tennessee's defense. He's a problem. I think he's a pro. But I don't have a great sense for Tennessee's running backs, and I just can't look at dominating UMass, up front and take much from it. So, man, it's so important that you don't let Kenny Pickett be in 3rd and 2 all day. He's a really good. They do some design run stuff with him. He's really good at the RPO game. They do that a pretty fair amount, and he's very good at it. He's a good quarterback. I think he's going to be drafted in the next draft. Probably not high, but he has enough of an arm, and the athleticism is very good. But their tailback running game, what is that? They have some players who have produced, and they've got some young guys they're very excited about. One young guy who got stacked up, and he may end up being their best running back, but he got stacked up on 2 straight short yardage plays by UMass near the goal line, and they stopped him on 4th and 1, and it was one of those. And Narduzzi talked about you gotta go in there get a yard, and he looked like a freshman trying to
dance around.
Yeah, but that's a guy who he can play. He's got talent. So Tennessee, from their perspective, you can't let them run for 120, 150 plus in this game. I think that you're going to have problems because, we're so focused on Tennessee's tempo and this Narduzzi defense, but I do have some concern about Tennessee's defense in this game. We're going to learn a lot about it.
Well, I agree, and I think a key offensively, outside of the obvious of Joe Milton's going to need to have a better day from not only an accuracy standpoint, but recognizing what's in front of him standpoint. That's obvious. We've talked about that all week. You're going to need your wide receivers to make some plays for you in terms of maybe getting them the ball quickly and making some people miss and using their speed that way. I mean, it's one thing to go down the field, and I think Tennessee's going to try that a few times, but Jalen Hyatt, very gifted with the ball in his hands. We'll see about Jimmy Callaway. We've not really seen him at this level yet to this point, but they've got some guys that you watch the way they run, how quick they are. You need your wide receivers to make some plays for you with the ball in their hands, and if you can get some missed tackles and some shiftiness to you and make some big plays that way, I think that can open up a lot for this offense. You need your wide receivers to bring their A game tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's another guy. So there's three guys, of course, who, I mean, I just think their availability is so key. So it sounds good on the Callaway front.
Yep.
And that's speed. I mean, that's another real burner to add to the mix. And again, like Milton, I mean, hey, look, Tillman got open. So, and they obviously have a connection, and he had a touchdown. But I feel like a Callaway, a Hyatt, I mean, these are the guys who may actually be able to catch up with those bombs from Milton, you know.
Velus Jones.
Velus Jones, another one. Yeah. You know, apparently, you know, that's if it's like a hamstring with him, I mean, it's like you want to make sure he's not like bothered by it all year. But yeah, if he could be a full go, then obviously Cooper Mays, and that sounds good. So it seems like offensively, you know, that's huge to have Cooper Mays, huge. Again, Kalijah Kancey, I think, is the most talented player on Pittsburgh's team, and I wish actually that I asked Narduzzi specifically about Kancey. Sophomore, number 8. Just basically a light 3 technique, but he is yeah, that's true. I mean, we could do a segment at the top of each hour with Narduzzi today. That'd be awesome. No, Kalijah Kancey, number 8, man, he's a problem. And so Cooper Mays is so important to have in this game. And then, of course, on the other side, I mean, Byron Young would be, and I don't know, as of now, I mean, it's still the whole – I've seen this happen before, though. I've seen this happen so many times where it's like Friday at 4 o'clock you get the clearance. And they've been preparing as if he can play, which is good. So, like, if he does get the clearance, here you go. I mean, if you could get, like, 20 pass rush snaps or whatever out of him in this game, that could make a difference. It's not like Kenny Pickett is I mean, he's not like a guy who's going to, you know, run for 100 yards on you or anything. But he's fast, and he's very good at sensing pressure and, you know, just finding sticks. So another pass rusher in there for Tennessee would really help.
How big a deal is this for Josh Heupel if Tennessee is able to get this done tomorrow? If they come away as a winner tomorrow at home against Pittsburgh, a game which, by the way, they are favored or not favored in. Pittsburgh is favored in this game. How big a deal is it for Josh Heupel if he's able to beat a quality ACC opponent, start the season 2-0?
I think it would be a big deal, and I think it would be a bigger deal than most people will make out of it. Like, to me, if they win this game, I'm really impressed. I think Pittsburgh is a team that definitely, like, I think Pittsburgh is a top 25 caliber team, although they've lost so much on defense to the NFL.
Yep.
You know, but still, the fifth-year senior quarterback who's good and the skill that's good and still having a lot of talent on D. I mean, I think it's a top 25-ish team. And again, it's also an established program. They know exactly what they want to do. So even when you lose people, you know, they're going to do what they do. They've had, you know, he's had this program going for many years. And what is this, his 7th year, I think? I think it's the 7th season.
Yep.
You know, so they've got a certain foundation there. And Heupel's in game 2. And so I will be very impressed. It probably won't get that much attention around the sport. I understand it. It's a game between 2 unranked teams. But I think it would be a big deal, an impressive win to get it at all. But also, now you're talking about the possibility of being 3-0, going to Gainesville, all the hype that would build until that trip. But it would be nice momentum for early going here in Heupel's first season.
ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listen in tomorrow night as Nashville SC takes on Montreal. Pregame starts at 6:45 and the match begins at 7 p.m. When we come back, we'll continue to look ahead at the weekend slate in college football, including Vanderbilt. How do they respond after an embarrassing loss to ETSU? All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank, now with 2 locations in Murfreesboro. Visit our brand new Murfreesboro location at 2019 Memorial Boulevard. Volunteer State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. So I see what you're talking about now.
Got it.
Jam bringing us back in. Okay, yeah.
Glass Tiger.
I'm familiar.
Glass Tiger.
Give me a Glass Tiger t-shirt.
And that's Bryan Adams the back end. My heart would break. Because Bryan Adams.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Big stuff in the 80s. Canadian rock. You got Loverboy, you got Glass Tiger, I guess Rush. Are those guys all Canadian? Geddy Lee's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Who else?
I want to say like all of them are Canadian, aren't they?
No, but I mean, what other bands?
Oh, I thought
there's got to be more
you're talking about
great
Rush.
Canadian rock bands, right?
I don't imagine the list is that high or that long.
We're forgetting somebody. Hit us up on the text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com with other great
Throw us
Canadian
your favorite
rock bands.
Canadian rock band.
That's right.
615-737-1025.
MC Snow. You guys know that song, Informer? Do you know that song? Oh, yeah. Look that one up next, Michelle.
Say the name of it again.
MC Snow, Informer. Jam.
It's a Joe Rexrode request line day.
Oh, yeah.
Here on the intro music coming back in. That's some good stuff. Talking college football, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, Vanderbilt back in action tomorrow. We had Clark Lee on the show earlier this week, and it's all looking ahead to Colorado State now after, quite frankly, an embarrassing, inexcusable loss by Vanderbilt to ETSU. They fall 23-3 last week. You're on the road. A little late night action for Vanderbilt coming up at 9 o'clock. So the nightcap for Vanderbilt this week, I guess, and it's difficult to judge because Colorado State didn't look overly impressive in week one either. This could be quite the matchup out there between Vanderbilt and Colorado State. But I'm interested to see from not only just a talent standpoint of what they have on the field, but I think more so from a mental standpoint. If you're Vanderbilt, how do you respond? Like, how much fight do you show in this game? If something goes bad early and you fall behind, is it immediately just total panic if you're Vanderbilt, or can you find some way to fight through it and fight through some adversity? Like, if this team's going to have any success this year, they're going to have to fight through some adversity because they're just not good enough not to. I'm interested to see if things start poorly tomorrow, if there's any pushback from this Vanderbilt team whatsoever.
No, I agree. I mean, it's a big answer needed from Vanderbilt, from Clark Lee. No one thought this team was going to be great or anything, but I thought this team would pass.
Wait, I thought you had them going 10-2.
That's right. Well, no, just 9-3.
Okay.
I said they could go 10-2. I'll take 9-3. That's a joke. Please strike that from the record. I did pick them to go 4-8, which I actually feel dumb about also, and gave ETSU no chance to beat them.
Well, there was that.
Yeah, there was that. You think about how it sets up. You're going out to Colorado State. Yeah, I don't think they're very good, but you can't tell me they're not good enough to beat Vanderbilt. And at home at night, I imagine it'll be some kind of a hostile environment. Then you're looking at coming home, for Stanford, which isn't like vintage Stanford, but still like a pretty good team coming into. Like, what's the scene like at Vanderbilt Stadium, for that, if what we saw week one carries over to week two? This is an important – I know it's game 2 of a coaching tenure, but I'm just talking about for this season. For this season, I feel like it's really important to show, one, like, execution, game plan, things like that just weren't good enough at all in week one, but also, like you said, can you stick together? And it did look, I mean, I know this is like from far away, you're looking at a sideline, you're in the press box, but it did look like once ETSU had some counter punches Saturday, there was this sort of, just sort of letting of air out on that sideline. And look, that's the type of thing that when you inherit an 0-9 team that was bad the year before too, and it just had a lot of kind of returning to sort of Vanderbilt losing and everything, like, it's not going to be snap your fingers and you got it all figured out and everybody's exactly approaching things how you want. But it was way worse than I think anyone would have imagined. So this is big.
Well, it is, and to that point, I stand by what we've said about the quarterbacks for Vanderbilt. I think they've got some ability. I think Ken Seals is a good thrower of the football. I think Mike Wright is an incredible athlete. Like, I like a lot of what those two bring to the table. I also think, like, at some point, if you never see wins come, your confidence just start to immediately go out the door. And, Ken Seals has never won a college football game up until this point. Like, it's important to see a win go in the column for Ken Seals and for this football team. So, I'm interested as this season goes on. Like, there's obviously still really young at that position, and there's a lot to grow from and learn from. But at some point, when you just get taken to the woodshed all the time, it's very difficult to overcome that throughout the rest of your college career. They need a win for those guys specifically.
They do. And again, I mean, this is where you have to look at Vanderbilt and say 0-9, but they threw the ball well last year at times. They had success. Freshman quarterback. They had some success. They had some good weeks. Overall, he was good. He has good receivers. I mean, Chris Pierce, the veteran, Cam Johnson, these are good players. These guys have made plays against SEC defenses. Will Shepard is good. I mean, there's a reason. I think Amir Abdur-Rahman has been banged up, but still, like, Will Shepard has emerged, and he got targeted 19 times last week. 9 catches, I think 84 yards. I mean, these guys are good enough to go out and make plays in the SEC. So, these coaches have got to put them in position to make plays against ETSU and Colorado State and UConn. Then you get to the SEC. I mean, like what we saw offensively, and I know there's a lot of things. I mean, Clark Lee talked specifically about one play. Sometimes it's one guy who doesn't do his job, and then it's one pressure that ruins a whole play. Or again, Mike Wright makes a big-time play for a touchdown to Chris Pierce. One guy's downfield and eligible, wipe it off the board, and it's like they never really threatened again to score. So it's little things sometimes, but the overall picture of the offense, especially to me, has got to be different Saturday.
Before we get to a gross oversight on our part when it comes to Canadian rock bands, we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. That's been pointed out several times on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The most intriguing matchup
Guess Who?
to you. Yeah, that's one of them.
Yep. Yeah, the Guess Who. Brockman Turner Overdrive.
Yep, that's on there too.
Man.
Now, there's one that came along a little later
totally
that we
missing.
totally
You're missing
missed
a
on.
big one.
Yeah,
I just looked at the text line.
Yeah. Now, that came along. Now, in fairness, it's not in the 80s. It came along a little bit later. But
Don't tell me.
Is Oregon-Ohio State the matchup you're looking forward to the most this weekend? It's not a great weekend in terms of big-time college football games.
I mean, honestly.
And I wasn't all that impressed by Oregon week 1.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good game. I don't. I understand it's Pac-12, Big Ten, and everything, but it is. It's kind of a downer week after an incredible first week.
Do you have Iowa State?
That's probably it. The Cy-Hawk Trophy, Iowa State. That's probably the game that I'm looking forward to the most. Are there any sneaky good games out there? I mean, is Texas at Arkansas? Does that have a chance to be interesting?
I mean, Alabama's playing Mercer, and Nick Saban was in prime Nick Saban form earlier this week. He's fired up. They didn't practice worth of crap on Monday, apparently. Didn't finish the game after they were up 1-0 against Miami. So Nick Saban's upset this week.
Rat poison.
Better watch out for Mercer.
Yeah. Rat poison. And I really hope at some point he said, "You guys think Mercer can't give us any problems?"
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yeah. That's a lot of bad ones. Seriously, there are weeks where it's like you're gonna go sit in a press box and watch Tennessee or Vanderbilt play a game, and you're just like, get that phone cooking. Like, I mean, look, Vanderbilt, ETSU, Clemson, Georgia was rolling on the phone. But honestly, I mean, Tennessee, Pittsburgh to me it's high on the list of interesting games this week in the sport.
I agree. We'll see what happens on that front. A lot of people on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, very upset that we did not mention Nickelback when it comes to Canadian rock. Nickelback.
You serious? I was like,
look, I don't hate Nickelback as much as most people do. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I drive around jamming out to Nickelback or anything, but I think it's become trendy to hate Nickelback.
Yeah.
I think some people take it too far.
Because their name is kind of dumb, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Maybe.
I can't
say that the vocalists there are just – it makes my eyes tear up or anything from just how great it is. But
I can't – I honestly don't even know much of Nickelback, but what I do know, I don't want to know more.
Triumph, Saga, April Wine.
April Wine. Oh, man.
A lot of votes for the Canadian rock bands.
But, yeah.
Who knew this was such a thrilling genre of music?
Yeah, but Rush is a big –
Sure.
I'm glad that we got to – the Guess Who and BTO, which there's some shared members there too. Very important to mention.
Tim from Lewisburg says Loverboy has a few good songs in the 80s. Loverboy does.
Turn me loose, Tim.
That's right.
Have you found MC Snow yet?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You want me to play it right now?
Yeah, maybe we should go outro with MC Snow.
I think we'll just get it back
Just
at like
get it in the back?
7:15.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it coming up next hour. Got a lot to get
so
to.
excited for
coming
it.
up next hour. Paul Kaharski from the Outkick 360 and paulkaharski.com will join us at 7:30. Call your shot Friday, and we'll react coming up next to a great game last night between the Bucks and the Cowboys. Look ahead to the Titans and the Cardinals as well. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. got a lot to get to this hour. Got Paul Kaharski coming up at 7:30 from Outkick 360 and paulkaharski.com. Call Your Shot Friday at 7:45. So go ahead and get those called shots in there on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, I got to tell you, I did not expect the game last night between the Cowboys and the Bucs to be a really thrilling game, but it was. That was a heck of a start to the 2021 NFL season last night. The Bucs get it done 31-29 on yet another game-winning drive by the GOAT, Tom Brady, last night. But all in all,
OPI.
See, it was close. I agree with you. I think it's OPI, but it was close. It was not.
It was close.
As clear-cut as Cowboys fans wanted it to be.
I mean, they went right to the – I don't even remember who the heck the rules guy was for them, but he was like, that's OPI.
Yeah.
And Collinsworth was like, yeah, but it was kind of – and he just didn't even – he just
He's
ignored
like, all right.
Okay, yeah, let's move on. It was OPI. All right.
Great performance last night from Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He was.
42 of 58. So, that you got that shoulder coming in and throws 58 passes last night. 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick.
Yeah.
And the pick that he threw went directly off of CeeDee Lamb's hands.
I know. That's toughy for someone who has CeeDee Lamb. And also was going to draft Dak Prescott and didn't. But no, Prescott was great. And it was great to see that. I do wonder – I come away from that game. One, I think the Cowboys could win the East. I know. I know that's like a real treat. But I think they could be pretty good. I wonder, is Zeke, was that just a case of plan / you're playing like a really good defense. I mean, Vita Vea late in that game is just like, just plowing up the middle. Will Golson doesn't get enough love for the player he is. We know about their linebackers. Is that a case of the Cowboys just looked at this matchup and said that's not going to work, or is Zeke slowing down pretty?
He looked really bad last night. 11 carries, 33 yards. First off, 11 carries. Now, again, to your point, it's difficult to run the ball against Tampa Bay. But they didn't even try.
No, they had the one drive where I think Tampa Bay went up 2 scores, and they clearly came out and said, "Okay, we got to eat some clock up. We got to let the defense rest." They came out with the intent of running the ball, and they ran it enough in that drive, to mix it up, and it was nice and balanced.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was just, let it rip, Dak, and he's got great receivers.
Now, I've heard a lot since the game ended, and you'll hear a lot today about the Cowboys and how maybe they're a threat now in the NFC, and their offense looked great last night. Well, their passing offense looked great last night. I still, defensively, there's not much there. You're talking about an interception because Leonard Fournette couldn't catch a ball, and other than that, Chris Godwin trying to make maybe too many moves and fumbling the ball on the goal line. Like Tampa Bay, when they got stopped last night, largely stopped themselves. So Dallas still got some work to do defensively.
No, Tampa Bay, 4 turnovers and really just gave them to them. Yeah. So
a Hail Mary pick at the end, whatever, the first half.
The first half, right. Yeah. If you take away those turnovers, those are game-changing turnovers that keep it close. But again, Tampa Bay is also a defending champ, and
sure.
I think most people thought this was going to be a lopsided game. So
I think the line got up to 9 yesterday.
Was that right?
Yeah.
I think it was still overall encouraging, just mostly from the Dak perspective.
Yeah.
Dak is, I know some people have called Dak, I guess, kind of overrated, and I think there's just something about being a Cowboys quarterback that you're just talked about more.
Yep.
No matter if you're good
I've been
or
guilty
bad.
of it.
He's freaking good.
That's pretty good. That was pretty impressive performance last night.
Standing in the way he did, and certainly you can see obviously too with Tyron Smith. Their offensive line looks more like their offensive line, right? But he stood in. The Bucs were blitzing, they were pressuring. He stood in and made a lot of throws.
Look, I will say, and I know we joke about Tom Brady a lot here on this show, but that dude is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Some of the throws he made last night at 44 years old. And I was just sitting there watching that game like, oh, my. He put one, I think it was either late first quarter, early second quarter, and it's like a fade route to the sideline for Antonio Brown. just dropped it in a bucket. And I was like, good gracious, what a throw.
Well, even it was OPI on Godwin, and maybe they don't win if that gets called, but the throw was fantastic. The anticipation on the throw and the placement, week one. And I know he's been playing with Godwin for a while now, but, yeah, you look at that team with Brown now fully engaged. I mean, gosh, if I'm Mike Evans, I'm like, hey, hello, throw me the ball.
Somebody who drafted Mike Evans in our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy League, it was not fun to watch last night. He had 3 catches for 24 yards.
And Brady did almost throw the pick on going to Evans on the last. It was very close, and then it drops incomplete. But no, Brady, I mean, it is ridiculous at 44 for him to be this good still. It just is.
Brown, 5 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown last night. Chris Godwin, 9 for 105. And I will say, Rob Gronkowski looked like Rob Gronkowski last night. 8 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. 8 targets, 8 catches. Pretty good night for Gronk last night.
Yeah, they're good.
Turns out they might be good.
They're good. Yeah, I know. I mean, just think, your Packers could have really used a little like just an early leg up in that home field advantage. Not that home field meant anything last year.
I know.
But you'd still rather have it.
Yeah.
Long way to go.
There's a long way to go.
Yeah,
17 games. It's a marathon this year, not a sprint. 17 games.
Do they play each other this year?
They
don't. That's too bad.
Well, they will.
Probably.
They'll see each other at some point.
Yeah, unless Matt Stafford has something to say about it.
So. Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Shane from Ashland City texting in. Haters will hate, but I don't like the Cowboys, but Dak looked like he had surgery and never missed a snap. He looks the exact same as before he got hurt. The dude's incredible, so he deserves the hype. Well, it was really impressive.
It was, and also, again, remember, he's not, the shoulder obviously was a thing, but his ankle's not healthy either right now. So I think if he can get that and get healthier, he can be more of a threat out of the pocket too. But he's good. And Lamb, Cooper, that's a nice collection of players. But yeah, Zeke, I don't know. I'm watching Tony Pollard get the ball and saying, I think he's got a little more burst than Zeke right now.
Well, I agree. Now, Zeke's getting paid a lot of money, so they're going to keep feeding him the ball this year. But he's 26, and the last year, he's looked like he's just completely fallen off the table.
Well, this is the running back haters. This is what they say. And it does happen to guys at that position earlier than, any other position. So it's a little early also to declare him done.
Sure, and that defense
it wasn't
is a different animal.
It wasn't encouraging, though.
It was not encouraging, and, it's interesting how their game plan has kind of shifted. When they first had Zeke in the league, even with Dak Prescott as quarterback, like everything went through Zeke. And last night, I forgot he was playing. I mean, I really did. I looked around one time. I was like, oh, yeah, look, Ezekiel Elliott's out there. How about that?
And I saw some on Twitter from some of the NFL writers about, when the Cowboys were really good, they had that balance, and they still were built around Zeke. But again, I can't blame Dallas for the way they approached last night. One, because of how he looks, and two, because of who they're playing. It worked out. They were in position.
Well,
all you have to do is you can't let Tom Brady have the ball at the end. You got to go for a touchdown there or one more first down, to get more clock killed.
Well, Tampa Bay played the same way. Brady threw the ball 50 times last night. So combined, Tampa Bay had 14 rushing attempts last night, and Dallas, I think, had 15. I mean, you're talking about two teams that just totally abandoned running the ball.
It's the new
Excuse
NFL.
me, 18. So, but 4 of them come from Dak Prescott when he was escaping pressure. So, with their running backs, they ran the ball 14 times last night.
Yeah.
Like, Derrick Henry might have 14 carries by halftime on Sunday. Maybe more. Like, he could.
Speaking of around the NFL, by the way, that was the news was a big game, but how about the freaking Ravens?
Oh, man.
I mean, you got
talk about getting the injury bug.
So according to Schefter, I think Schefter reported this, they think Gus Edwards also tore his ACL, and Marcus Peters also tore his ACL. So they've lost all their running backs.
After J.K. Dobbins has torn his ACL.
And Justice Hill, what was his injury?
Don't remember.
Something serious.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess
What did John Harbaugh do to somebody?
I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're going to sign Latavius Murray. So he gets cut by the Saints. Look like he's going to end up in Baltimore. I mean, I guess, do you elevate Le'Veon Bell after that?
Yeah.
I guess you have to.
I mean, yeah, for sure. It's not. You could do worse than Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell. I mean, you could do worse. I don't know if you feel great about it, but
it's interesting.
Incredible.
I came out with my my pre-week 1 NFL power rankings yesterday on Twitter, and I had Baltimore, I think at like number 6 or something. And then like 2 hours later, that news came out. I was like, well, all right.
How about number 16?
How about number 20? Let's see what happens.
I mean, Peters, that's for that D.
Yeah.
Big reliance on
As
that
Titans
guy.
fans are well aware.
Yeah. That's tough.
When we come back, some good news for the Titans yesterday on the injury front. We'll get to more of that coming up next. Continue to look ahead to the Titans coming up against the Arizona Cardinals as well. That's coming up next. Right now, though, speaking of Week 1, check out my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Week 1 is finally here. The fridge is stocked. The recliner's ready. Now all you got to do is log into FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet. That's right. FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet just in time for Week 1 of the NFL season. And some interesting lines that are out there right now in the National Football League. Kansas City, 5.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. A lot of hype on Cleveland this year, but give me Kansas City to win that game and to cover that spread. But you take it any way you want to take it. The money line, the over-under, prop bets, same-game parlays, everything on the table. It's one of the many reasons why FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook, and you can use FanDuel Sportsbook on any Week 1 game. There are so many ways to play, and if you're new, sign up today with promo code ROB to also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Patrick Mahomes.
You think I'm Patrick Mahomes still? Whose jersey is this?
I mean, I'm not Patrick Mahomes. Are you Dak Prescott?
Yeah.
So good to see you.
So good to see you. So you can't keep getting me and Patrick confused.
Yeah, you got.
I don't have the hair. He's got the hair.
So
He's got the hair like you.
Dak Prescott.
I'm Dak Prescott.
It's good to see you.
It is good to see Dak Prescott. We saw him last night playing very well for the Cowboys against Tampa Bay. Ultimately, though, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, too much to overcome. And by the way, Joe, we got through that entire segment. Did not bring up Ryan Suckup. What a kick to win that game for Tampa Bay.
Yes, Ryan Suckup continues to be
ice in his veins.
Very good kicker in the NFL.
Apparently so. We'll see if Sam Ficken can live up to that as we continue throughout the season here.
It's a big, so many storylines, and he's one who gets forgotten a little bit, but boy, it's a big one.
Got lots of great Titans coverage coming up your way here in the next hour. Paul Kaharski from Outkick 360 and paulkaharski.com joining us at 7:30. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, joining us at 8 o'clock. So a lot to get to coming up. Looking ahead at the Titans and the Cardinals in Week 1. And some good news on the injury front yesterday for the Titans. And, Joe, we talked yesterday on the show about A.J. Brown being back on the injury report with a knee injury, did not practice on Wednesday. He was out there yesterday, and in the limited period that the media got to see, A.J. Brown looked like he looked pretty good. As Teron Davenport described it, some naked knees out there for A.J. Brown. Didn't have anything on those knees, no wraps, no braces, nothing of the sort.
Yeah, so I think that I think the A.J. take Wednesday off. Maybe that doesn't happen moving forward. I mean, maybe he feels great and he's like, no, I want to practice every day. But it seems like the A.J. take Wednesday off, then come back for the biggest practice of the week, Thursday, theory is accurate. Because, again, even the day he missed, and he's on the injury report. He's on the injury report for knee. But even the day he missed, it just didn't – he's coming in as the guys are practicing. He's in the street clothes. He's joking around. It doesn't seem like – obviously, if he would have not been out there yesterday, then the whole idea of what happened Monday that we didn't see in practice,
right,
that comes out. But I think he's going to be fine. Now, again, are there still concerns with a knee that's on the injury report and you're missing practice after having surgery? Sure, but he's going to be out there Sunday. Julio Jones will be out there Sunday, and so that's Monday and Wednesday and Thursday with Julio Jones. Looked like Julio Jones. I said yesterday with TD and I were – TD was taking video. I had just taken video, and I was standing next to him watching the receiver drills because I swear, the receiver drills now, it's like the reporters – it's like the moths to the flame.
Yes.
It's like where we're all gathered around the receiver drills. But I said after watching Julio Jones go through a drill, I was like, he's like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Like he's just like a superhero. Like his length, and Tannehill said it this week too, the suddenness for someone that size is just gosh, it's just different.
I've had a feeling all week, and, I was just going to wait till Friday to talk about it because we've got our picks coming up a little bit later in the show as well. But for some reason, I've just had a feeling all week Julio Jones is going to have a big year. There's a lot of talk about Julio Jones. We've talked about it here on the show in terms of, his time, how things ended in Atlanta, the health, 32 years old, all these different things. And obviously, I can't foresee whether or not Julio Jones is going to get hurt or not, so I'm assuming that he's going to play. But I think he is going to have a monster year to the point where, if you told me right now that Julio Jones had the greatest season a Titans receiver has ever had, I'd be like, okay, yeah. I could see that. I think Julio Jones is going to be really good this year.
Why didn't you tell me this before the fantasy drafts?
Well, that's exactly why I didn't tell you. No, I didn't end up with Julio either.
No.
I do have him in 2 leagues.
Oh, okay. So you did act on this.
Yeah.
You acted on this instinct.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I could see it. It's just hard for me to know how that's going to work out with 3 guys that you just really want to have the football.
Yeah.
You want the football in the hands of Julio Jones as much as possible, but also Derrick Henry and also A.J. Brown. There's other teams around the league that have –
top flight tight end Anthony Ferkser.
Well, there's that too. There's other teams around the league that have you have to have multiple skill player threats to be I think, a good team in this league, unless you have some overwhelming defense or something.
Well, just look at Tampa Bay last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Dallas.
Yeah. So it's just it's hard to know exactly. But we just haven't seen this group together, obviously. And then there's the OC aspect of it too. Although I just don't think it's going to look. I mean, I don't think they're going to look like the same offense. I think it's just the same offense, but now you add number 2, and it's going to be so much fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to the game. Like, I'm almost looking forward to as much watching it over to see, some things that, during real time you don't have time to really look at, like, what the Cardinals are doing and how they're trying to deal with them. I think week to week it's going to be probably different things, but our team's going to ultimately say, look, we cannot let Derrick Henry just run wild,
right,
or do AJ and Julio scare teams enough to make it look a little different out there this year?
Well, and it's interesting, and we talked about kind of the work that Julio Jones and Ryan Tannehill are going to have to make up as the season goes along here. And I thought Kayla Anderson had a really cool video yesterday of, kind of the limited part of practice that you're able to see.
Yeah.
It's Tannehill and Julio Jones just talking to each other and working on routes and where he wants the ball, the type of routes and releases he's going to run. I thought a really good video by Kayla yesterday at practice.
That was a great video. And, yeah, you could see it. They're just kind of like, okay, this, that, and that's the type of stuff you have to work out. And then he goes out and runs the route. Tannehill throws it. So are they going to be ready Sunday? Are they going to have mishaps? Or are they going to have a great – I mean, I obviously you've got routes. You run routes.
Sure.
And but there's still a timing. You get that innate feel for someone if you're a quarterback if you throw to them enough. So and that's not going to be there. But have they had enough time to make it a pretty good connection right away? And I guess you could also say just get the ball quickly into Julio's hands and
see what he can do with it.
Yeah, because he's very good after the catch.
He is very good after the catch. A.J. Brown very good after the catch. And the interesting matchup that we talked about yesterday was if that Titans offensive line can hold up and they can keep J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, and company from being too disruptive, I think you feel good about the matchup at corner right now if you're the Titans. And you talk about being thrown into the fire for some of those Cardinals corners. There's A.J. Brown one side, Julio Jones the other side. Have fun with that.
Yeah, and those guys have got to hope that the pass rush, the revamped pass rush, the highly paid pass rush.
It is highly paid.
Gets to Ryan Tannehill.
It's a little up there in years, too. J.J. Watt. Remember when the offseason discussion was whether or not the Titans should sign J.J. Watt?
Yeah.
And then we saw that price tag, and I was like, ooh. It's quite the price tag for J.J. Watt at this stage of his career.
That's kind of an interesting question. If you are a Titans fan, are you happy that Bud Dupree is the high-priced defensive ad, or would you prefer J.J. Watt?
Well, look, at the risk of being cold-taked later, give me the 28-year-old. I'll take the 28-year-old.
Well, I'd agree. I mean, I still think, there's so much for him. And Bud Dupree, as much as we're excited to see Julio in this offense and what it all looks like, I mean, you could argue that Bud Dupree is as important a player as there is on the team. As important a new player, but even just as a player. Because if he makes the impact he's paid to make, then and that's what we haven't seen at all, obviously, from this defense coming off the ACL. He's not going to play in a preseason game. But Shane Bowen, I specifically asked Shane Bowen about him yesterday, really just to kind of get a sense because we can't watch team anymore. And Bowen basically was like, yeah, he looks good out there. I mean, looking forward to seeing him Sunday. I mean, he's full go. He's going to start. I would expect I just would think he's probably not really on a pitch count. Like, it's here you go, come right back. And if he comes in there and makes an impact, then I think the idea of this defense being a lot different holds a lot more water.
I do too. Now, I do wonder about, and this is not really even specifically with just Bud Dupree, but I think a lot of players week one, and Chris Collinsworth talked about this on the broadcast last night, like there's a difference between practice speed, preseason game speed, and then regular season game speed. And when you've not really done much throughout the course of training camp in the preseason, what does your conditioning level look like in week one on what's going to be, not an overly hot day at Nissan Stadium. It's not like it's going to be 100 degrees or anything, but it's a little warm out there. You're going to be sweating. How much can you hold up from a conditioning standpoint. And again, that's not just a Bud Dupree thing. I think that's pretty much an everybody thing, week one.
Well, but that's a great point, and with him in particular, I think because this is a tempo offense. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, some people might call it collegey or whatever what they do, but I mean, hey, it does make it tough to sub, and they go fast, and you have got to line up. And so I feel like it makes it important to feel like you have a third guy that you can say, okay, this is your series. Because again, you're going to have a hard time subbing in the midst of a series a lot of times if they're going their fastest. So you got to feel like, okay, Rashad Weaver, this is your series. Are they comfortable there yet? We'll find out on that too. Harold Landry, does he get a blow? Does he get a series off?
Does he take one step off the field at any point when they're on defense? We'll find out. Coming up on Sunday against Arizona. Don't miss the 2021 Middle Tennessee Highland Games and Celtic Festival Saturday, September the 11th at Percy Warner Park. A fun-filled day full of Celtic games, children activities, Celtic music, food, Scottish and Irish dancers, local and regional vendors, and much more. Tickets are on sale now. Visit mid10games.com for more details. We'll be right back. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans with Paul Kaharski from Outkick 360 and paulkaharski.com. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Looking ahead to week 1 for the Titans coming up against the Cardinals. And to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Paul Kaharski from the Outkick 360 and PaulKaharski.com. Paul, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. I am well and eager for Sunday to arrive.
We are eager as well. We finally made it. We've talked all offseason long about this NFL season, this Titans team. We're finally going to see it in action coming up on Sunday. Paul, before we look ahead to the game, you've gotten Rexrode incensed here on the show, which I know is
not hard to do.
Is relatively easy to do on that front, but he came out with a story at The Athletic trying to determine when's the last time a Titans team had this much hype, this much anticipation heading into a season, and he is not very happy with you, Jim Wyatt, and John Glennon with your answers.
No, hold on.
Well,
actually, hold on,
okay,
Paul.
go
All
ahead.
right, yeah. I actually need to apologize to Glennon.
Okay.
So Glennon, although I disagree with Glennon, he answered the question correctly. So I'm going to say this question to you again, Paul, and we're going to work this out, and then you can apologize and we can talk Titans.
Okay.
Here's the question. The question is, this is the most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since, which means
That's it.
yes,
No,
that's
don't give
the
any context.
hold
That's
on.
the email you sent me. Let me answer the question. That's the email you sent.
Yep.
This is the most anticipated Titan season in Nashville since.
Yep.
And you sent it to the old guard,
Right.
okay? And 3 of us came back with the correct answer last year. Because last year they were coming off an AFC championship game, and the sense was, hey, maybe they could get some home field, not go on the road, win the division and not be a wild card, and take this thing to the Super Bowl. The correct answer was last year,
No.
but you were looking for a story that said 2000. And so what you did is you went to Teresa Walker and David Beauclair, who gave you the answer you wanted, and you ignored the answer of Paul Kuharski, Jim Wyatt, and John Glennon, 3/5 of the people you talked to, which was the majority. So you wrote a story off of the minority answer that you got that fit the narrative you wanted.
Yeah. Now, first of all, I was writing the story regardless. I was looking for a quote. Beauclair gave me a quote. Thank you, Beauclair. But listen, this is where you messed up. So this is, again, why I apologize to Glennon, because Glennon actually argued, and I disagree, but he argued, yeah, I think last year was more anticipated. You and Wyatt then yesterday tell me at the presser, oh, well, I think this year is a little more anticipated than last year. Then how can you not read English, Paul? If that's the case, then the question says it's equal to or greater than this year. When was the last time it was equal to or greater than this year? The most anticipated. So you answered it wrong in the first place. If your answer later is actually no, this year is more anticipated. No, well then what are you talking about? And I'd rather yell at you than Wyatt because
crazy.
What?
Look who's getting all heated and crazy. Let me read you the email he sent. For possible use in The Athletic, please answer this with a year and a comment if you'd like to add one, and thanks. This is the most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since ...
And you think this? Hold on. And you think that this year is more anticipated than last year? Yes, you told me this yesterday.
It doesn't.
Did you say that?
Joe, nowhere in the question does it say more. It's the most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since last year. Simple answer.
Oh my
you
God!
phrased the question poorly, or you're rephrasing it now. You're saying
Paul,
more.
It's
the most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since last year.
The most since. That has to be equal to or greater than. It has to be. You can't say, well, last year wasn't as anticipated, but it was last year, so let's go back to last year. No. If you say this year is more anticipated than last year cannot be your answer. You have to go back to whenever it was at least as anticipated as this year. This is basic logic in English. But, all right, ask him a Titans question.
I agree. I'll just have the final word on this. The most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since was an easy, simple question. The last time it was this anticipated or more anticipated was last year.
You said
2000.
that yesterday that this year is more anticipated.
You said you're going to let him have the final word.
But he can't have that's ridiculous. Like, you are telling us that you either are completely failing in English or logic or both right now.
Most anticipated since. The last time
Robby, can I get a ruling on this?
Or more was last year.
I'm completely just.
Robby's with me.
You
Robby,
did a successful job of making him more mad. His face is extremely red right now.
Robby, you know I'm right. Anybody out there who's listening to this conversation, you can't say most since and then say last year wasn't quite as much, but I'll just say last year.
Paul Kaharski.
That makes no sense.
Paul Kaharski from Outpick 360 and paulkaharski.com on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Paul, with all that in mind, obviously we've talked to you about this offense, what it could look like with the full complement of players on the field. I want to talk to you about Bud Dupree. Obviously, we've not seen him on the field yet in a Titans uniform. They've paid him a ton of money. In your mind, what constitutes a successful season for Bud Dupree, whether that's a sack total, impact on the defense? Take that answer however you want to take it.
Well, I kind of make this pledge when they go get one of the best guys at the position of need. I go all the way back to Yancey Thigpen, who was a disaster, right? But they needed a receiver that, like they have for, all the way up until A.J. Brown pretty much. They took a swing at the best receiver on the market when they signed Yancey Thigpen. He didn't work out. But it didn't make it, in hindsight, it was the wrong move because Yancey Thigpen wasn't very good. He got hurt, et cetera, et cetera. But they went for the best receiver on the market. I don't know if Bud Dupree was the best edge rusher on the market, but there was finally a market of edge rushers, and they went and got one. So, I kind of pledged last year the nameless, big-time pass rusher that they go get. I'm not going to say he's a failure if he doesn't get 10 sacks. For some reason, this team just does not value sacks. It talks disruption all the time. Maybe it's because, Mike Vrabel didn't get as many sacks as he wanted when he was a pass rusher. I don't know. It's ridiculous to me because sacks end drives. But I think, Shane Bowen basically said you can't tell that he's coming off of ACL. I don't know how many snaps he's going to get if he's on a pitch count, if they're not going to play him on rundowns yet. If he's disruptive and works in tandem with Harold Landry and is part of the pass rush being better, and by better I mean not settling for 19 sacks and saying it's not a problem, then it's a success to me. And he and Danico Autry, based on what they've done in the league, are significantly better than what the Titans had last year and have had for some time.
What do you think of the secondary right now? They look good against mostly backups in camp. Look good in the preseason. Do you think it's upgraded? Do you think Molden is ready right now to be a plus player in the slot?
I understand the excitement about Molden. I'm very anxious to see him as well. I talked to some people around the league about Janoris Jenkins. I still call him Janoris once in a while, despite his instruction, Jackrabbit. Less of a gambler. I wrote a piece about him gambling. I thought it was very interesting what he talked about. I pick one situation, formation, and that's what I look for during the game to go take my big chance. I talked to one personnel man who said, he's kind of rated him as better than Malcolm Butler, which surprised me. But Joe, I can't say they're better until I see them do it in games. I'm still wary of seeing them line up. You heard me ask Shane Bowen, like on 3rd and 4, are you really not going to line up 8 yards off? And until I see them do that, I'm not as confident in Christian Fulton as everybody seems to be. I'm really worried about Caleb Farley not being ready. I think it's a better potential group than last year. But I got to see it, and we all do it every year. We put too much stock in the preseason. Every year I try to fight against that current. So I'm trying to do that. We don't know about the defense. People are asking me, what's gotten better more, the pass rush or the secondary and the coverage? I don't know. We can't know.
Paul, as I sat there last night and watched Ryan Suckup drill yet another winning field goal for Tampa Bay, I thought about the Titans kicking carousel that they've had the last couple of years, and Sam Ficken, obviously the guy heading into Sunday, If he gets off to a start similar to Gostkowski last year, are the Titans as patient with him as they were with Gostkowski? How secure do you think Sam Ficken is in his job as they head into the season?
I think he's pretty secure unless somebody that they really like comes free. And I think hiring James Wilhoit was a really smart move, probably late to hire an expert based on what's going on around the league in terms of having, a kicking expert work with your kicker. I mean, he really did everything they could have asked in this preseason in terms of consistency and everything. It's not the same as high-pressure kick in a game like Suckup hit at the end yesterday, obviously. But, at some point you've got to take one of these guys. Almost every kicker starts like this, right? He drifts around a little bit. He's not so good. He lands with his second, third team and finally takes off. And, Titans, Rob Baronis was like that. He played arena football. But other than that, Al Del Greco, Joe Nedney, Ryan Suckup, they had veteran guys who had success before. This is a different path. But if they hit on this guy, he's young and could be their guy for a long time, and they're probably due to take that route finally. So you cross your fingers and hope. Kickers are such a variable thing. You don't know what you're going to get until he takes off. But they're due to settle this thing down, and they've been so nonchalant about it for so long, it's kind of silly. So hopefully he gives them some stability.
Okay, so last year in the slightly less anticipated season than this year, you picked the Titans. Did you pick them to win it or just to get to the Super Bowl last year?
No, I picked them to go and lose to New Orleans.
Okay, so I don't know if you got a prediction, timing, or place or whatever, but what's your forecast right now, 2 days before this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll win the division, and I think they should win the division rather easily. If they're healthy, they should be very good. And I think that they, I won't be surprised if they challenge Kansas City to get the bye in the AFC. I think it's a disappointment if they don't get into the playoffs and make a run. But I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. That would be silly of me. Maybe I was a year too early. They should be very good if they're healthy. But I was saying on our show yesterday, we talked. Now, I know you think Nick Westbrook-Akina is the solution to everything.
Yes, there we go.
If Julio Jones goes down, right, they're right back where they were in receiver situation. A.J. Brown is automatically doubled. Look, Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson, who's on IR right now, were phenomenal through camp. But Josh Reynolds has been largely a zero, and I got crucified for saying so. But and thanks for having my back on that, Joe.
You're very explosive.
If Julio Jones goes down, they're right back where they were. A.J. Brown gets doubled all the time. Wide receiver 2 and 3 are question marks in terms of how threatening they are, and they're not as dangerous on offense. They're really dangerous on offense right now, right? But they're one injury away with the wrong guy from having trouble, and that guy happens to be injury prone. So I worry about them from that perspective. And I'm really worried about them at the beginning now just because they haven't had any offensive cohesion, right? They're going to have had 3 practice days with everybody available after 40 days or 50 days of practice. So I think they'll be very good. And I think, it comes down to can they stand toe-to-toe in the playoffs with Buffalo, Kansas City, Cleveland. I like the Chargers a lot. And it should be a fun ride.
Paul, as we let you go here, I just have to point out that on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, on multiple social media platforms, a lot of people on Team Paul right now over Team Rexrode.
Well, then we'll give them a lesson in English and logic, too. That's fine.
We had a caller, too.
I'm happy to educate everybody. Wait. What you do,
Joe, is when you lose the question, you change the question so that you win the question.
I read it word for word. So did you. I mean, I will
what
get it.
What was the most anticipated? You're asking when that season happened, what was the anticipation level of that season?
No.
So that's taking this season out of it. Previous to this season, what was the most anticipated? Last season. Most recently, most anticipated last season. Thank you.
We don't have time.
Thank you.
We don't have time.
Take care,
No,
everybody. Have a good day. Enjoy TD at the top of the hour.
That's right.
Outkick 360's on at 2 o'clock. PaulKoharski.com has a great preview of the game from Blake Bedingfield, the former Titan scout. Have a good day, everybody.
That's right. Check it out.
I'm
Paul
gonna get a junior
Koharski
high English
from
teacher on here to refute
Outkick360
you.
and PaulKoharski.com, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll come back. Time for Call Your Shot Friday. Take your reactions as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means. It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week, time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here, member FDIC. And it's a special edition of Call Your Shot Friday, brought to you by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave. Call Your Shot Friday here. How'd we do last week? All right, we had a pretty heavy edition of Call Your Shot Friday last week. College football beginning last Saturday, and lots of spicy takes last week for Call Your Shot Friday. I know that I got one right. Had the called shot last week of Alabama winning by 28+. Felt pretty good about that, even though that spread was a ridiculous 18.5.
Yeah, I finally just got to our shots from last week. I'm still flustered, angrily texting Paul. I can't believe you people out there. I feel like lately between Jared and Paul, like I'm all yelling all the time and like my blood pressure's high. I mean, this is not good for health. Okay, last week you had Tide winning by 28 plus. Yes. Georgia beats Clemson on the final drive. JT Daniels leads it. No.
They did win.
Ken Seals throws 4 touchdowns versus ETSU.
Oh, boy.
And Nashville SC
scoring in the opening 10 minutes.
Okay, I wrote.
Didn't happen.
I wrote Nashville SC opening 10 minutes of game. I'm like, yes, they will open the 10 minutes of game. Okay, so you got you
did not get that one.
Okay,
slightly after.
Michelle, Western Michigan beats Michigan. No. Clemson wins, and UJ no score until the second half. Also no. You had U.S. beating Canada in a shootout 2-1. You had you got a called shot that you will throw a strike Sunday for the first pitch. So I guess we'll just continue. We'll pay forward that called shot. You said strike zone-ish.
Zone-ish, yeah. Considering all my other shots were just god awful.
Well, you had Dak won't play Thursday versus the Bucs. Okay, well that was a tough one. Hey, it happens. I had Will Shepard more than 150 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. He did have a good night, but no, there were no touchdowns for Vanderbilt. Davian Davis, 2 sacks, no. So there's 2 Vanderbilt shots that didn't work out. UCLA will straight up beat LSU. Got that one. And I had Florida State shocks Notre Dame, and my goodness, I almost went 2 for 2 on the college football excitement or college football upset front, but not bad. 1 for 2, almost got 2. So here we go.
Here we go. We're ready to go for this week. We'll take your called shots on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Michelle Knezovic, would you like to kick us off this week and call your shot Friday?
Heck yes. I just cut you off there because I'm so excited. I wrote them down, guys. We got some good shots today, all football. Okay.
I like it.
Titans, starting off with Titans this Sunday. Since we've been just waiting for that Tannehill-Julio connection, I'm going to say Tannehill throws 2 touchdowns to Julio Jones.
I like it.
Okay, Mr. Spider-Man, as Robby referred to him. Next, we've got Kentucky football.
Uh-oh, Catterday.
Catterday versus Missouri. I'm going to say Kentucky wins, Missouri doesn't score.
Wow, Mizzou scoreless.
Mizzou scoreless. They're just going to Catterday all over them.
That's actually, that's one of the, we talk about this week, not a great week. I mean, that's it's an SEC game.
I know, I was kind of surprised when I looked at the schedule.
Little Catterday, okay.
I'm going to put a little fantasy in there. Robby and I go against each other week 1 for fantasy football. I beat Robby.
Oh, well, you're off to a good start. Mike Evans did not help me out very much last night.
Is that a shot? I mean, should there be like a margin, like a real... Like you will blow him out by 30 plus.
Let's say that. I'll blow him out by 30 plus, Joe. I like that
plus.
one.
There you go.
How do you feel about that? And then lastly, in honor of this week, we've talked a lot about Buffalo. It just so happens that my Pittsburgh Steelers are in Buffalo this Sunday.
That is true.
What are the odds, right, guys? I don't have a crazy shot, but I'm just going to say the Steelers roll over Buffalo in New York State. And Buffalo fans, the Buffalo Mafia, whatever they call themselves.
Your week-long war with them.
Yeah. And then I win. And then, yeah. So that's it.
Okay,
that would be a shot.
That would be a shot. If the Steelers straight up win. You said roll over. Also, you want a margin here? Or are you just going to say W?
Let's just do W because I just have not been winning my shots lately.
Well, that's a shot. That's still a shot.
That the
Steelers will win that game. Absolutely.
So those are mine. Who's next?
Joe Rexrode. Go ahead.
All right. So I've got 4. I got 2 from each of the next couple games. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add 1 at the end. So I'm going to go 5. So I got to go fast.
Okay. Go very fast.
Pittsburgh will sack Joe Milton 5 times.
Okay.
Joe Milton will complete 2 passes of more than 50 yards.
All right.
Derrick Henry will exceed 150 yards Sunday. Bud Dupree will have 2 sacks Sunday.
Wow. Okay.
And Vanderbilt will score 2 offensive touchdowns Saturday, which
that's a shot.
I think
that's a shot.
Yeah, I think it qualifies. Good
so
stuff.
There you go.
I'll go quickly. Derrick Henry ends up between 148 and 158 yards on the ground. I've got a 10-yard range. He will either have somewhere between 148 and 158 yards on the ground. So Derrick Henry, a very specific amount of rushing yards. And then my second and final called shot for the week, Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdown passes on Sunday against New Orleans. Down in Jacksonville, neutral site game, that Green Bay Packers offense picks up where it left off last year. Very explosive. 4 touchdown passes
4 touchdowns
for Aaron Rodgers.
Nice. Okay. I like the specificness of your Derrick Henry. So
I feel like I deserve a lot of credit. If it's somewhere between 148 and 158 for Derrick Henry, that's a pretty narrow range.
So is that more of a shot than more than 150?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's confining himself between 10 yards. But I'll just stick with.
You just stick with whatever.
I just stick with
That's fine. That has been today's edition of Call Your Shot Friday, brought to you by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave. When we come back, we'll be joined by our good friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD as well. We'll continue to look ahead to the Titans Week 1 matchup against Arizona. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Looking ahead to week 1 for the Titans coming up against Arizona. And to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD. Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and Craneworks and RentalWorks. FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at FreedomTireGuys.com. Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. TD, we've made it. Week 1 is here. We're just a couple of days away from game day. It's a good day to be alive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a great day to be alive. We get ready to unwrap this present and see what this team that we've been watching in training camp and preseason, see what it really looks like. I'm looking forward to it.
So, TD, what is more intriguing to you if you're watching this team on Sunday as a Titans fan? Would it be this offense and what they're going to look like all on the field together at the same time? Or is it Bud Dupree, your highly priced pass rusher that was such a problem for this team last year? How would you go about answering that question?
Yeah, if I were a Titans fan, the thing I would be really anticipating, obviously both of them, but just seeing how Julio Jones and Ryan Tannehill are going to be on the same page. That's really the one that I would be anticipating if I were a fan. And even as a reporter, that's something that I anticipate. That's why for Whiteboard Wednesday, hey,
that's right.
We got it off to a bang, right, with that first play. I think that's something that they should do. I just look forward to just seeing how that works. And one of the things that was really good to see yesterday was their communication before one of the snaps that they took during our individual period. And it was just extensive, and Julio Jones went through the movements of the post corner route that he was going to run, and he went out and ran it, and they talked a little bit afterwards. I think that's a really good sign of the communication, and that's something to be excited about.
So, TD, I'm certainly not a doctor. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at in terms of health out there, but I do see A.J. Brown, with nothing on his legs when he's out there. And then, of course, he's not out there Wednesday. He's on the injury report this week. But just from what you've seen and from what you can gather from all this, do you think this week is an example of something they might do all year, like maybe just give him Wednesday off just to try to manage the knee? Or where do you think both of those guys are health-wise?
Yeah, I think they're both really healthy. And for me, seeing A.J. Brown out there with those naked knees, I think that's a good sign. I really don't feel that there's a true injury. I think it is maintenance, and it's just to manage the pounding on the knees. And I think that's something that they're going to continue to do. And a good example of how healthy they are. If you watch that drill that they do, where you got a quick foot fire, one past the line, one behind the line, one pass, so on and so forth, and they go through that smoothly. Now, if you have a bad ankle or if you have a bad knee, you're not going to be able to do that so effortlessly, and I think that's a good example of them being 100% healthy. And A.J. Brown, he has that bounce. You watch him out there, he's just like a kid, just out there having fun, and there's bounce to him as he runs and things like that. And if you have a bad knee, you're not going to have that type of bounce.
TD, what are you most looking forward to, I guess most curious to see out of Todd Downing? This is the first time with the Titans he'll be the offensive coordinator in a game that actually matters in the regular season. What intrigues you the most about Todd Downing week 1, trying to work all of these pieces together and trying to get all these high-level players on the same page?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'll tell you, this is why I asked Todd Downing about patience yesterday at his presser, because that's the thing that I want to see. You have all these weapons. You got to get the football. But one of those weapons is 22, right? Derrick Henry. And when you watch how the Titans were under Arthur Smith, he had an uncanny ability to just stay patient and keep hammering at the running game, even when it wasn't going well. And you look at times where they had to take back the momentum of the game, they go shoe to shoe, and they run the football, even when they were down by 2 scores. So I want to see if Todd Downing is going to have that patience, whereas Derrick Henry, he'll go -1, he'll go 4 yards, 2 yards, and then next thing you know, it's 70, and it looks like, he had a great day, but that was because they kept pounding at it. And I want to see if Todd Downing is willing to do that, because that was one of the things that I was really impressed with as far as Coach Art calling the plays, where he gave that rushing attack a chance to work.
Yeah, and Downing is such I mean, there's so many key players and people and storylines with this team, TD. But I just look at Downing as it's almost like Tannehill a little bit. Like if things go well, it will still be easy to say, yeah, well, they should have gone well. Look at the players you have, or with Tannehill, look who you're throwing to. But what do you think, from what you've seen of Todd here in this role as he's talked to us, and even what you know of the 1 year as OC? We both know that the OC is, the easiest person to nitpick really in a football team, right? Because we all see exactly what he's doing with his job all day long, and you can second guess anything that doesn't work. But what is your feeling for him right now?
Yeah, I think for him, I like the way he's so involved, just as far as instruction-wise, and just how he reviews the play calls with, like, he'll have them line up, right, and he'll review the play call and say, on this, you got what? I think the teacher aspect of him is definitely there. But the other thing that I really like is just how he's willing to understand that, hey, you know what, from week to week, it's going to change as far as what they have to focus on doing. And he just seems very not, how can I put it? He seems very much in control of, okay, we're going to get all the guys involved, but this week it might be this guy, next week it might be the other one. That's a good thing, and it doesn't seem like he's going to try to force feed anybody the football or force anything to happen when the game plan may dictate something else, if you follow what I'm saying. So I think that's a good thing for him. But I mean, really, we have to see what happens. We could talk all this right now, but if they go out there on Sunday and they don't emphasize the passing game against that secondary, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked.
ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, Teron Davenport, on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, TD, with that in mind, we talked about it earlier with Bud Dupree, but as you factor in what he's been brought in to do, how much he's getting compensated to do it, what would you consider to be a successful season for Bud Dupree this year, whether that's a sack total, his impact on the defense, just whatever way you'd like to take that answer?
Yeah, I think double-digit sacks at a minimum, and also I think it's really going to come down to that whole group doubling what they did last year sack-wise. That's number perspective for me, but I think really it comes down to him being someone that can help pull Harold Landry along and just be a guy that helps this team finally start finishing, right? That those guys up front, they don't finish the deal as much as they should, and that's why the sack totals you see aren't really high. But Dupree is a finisher. Like he'll go and he will take the quarterback down. It's not a matter of being around him and flushing him out the pocket and he makes a big play. No, it's taking him down. That's what Dupree does, and I think that's a big time thing. And we talk about the sack totals, but you also have to factor in his ability against the run. I mean, he's one of the most complete outside linebacker types, because he's equally as strong against the run as he is as a pass rusher.
What do you expect the sub package to look like, TD? And understanding that, I don't know what the deal is with David Long. I mean, he's out there partially with the hamstring, but how do you think that looks, and how do you think it looks different from last year? Not just personnel, but how Shane Bowen's going to attack with it.
Yeah, because there's been such an emphasis, and talk is talk. As PK said, we got to see it on the field. But I expect to see these guys, judging from what Shane Bowen and Christian Fulton and Jack Rabbit Jenkins and Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker, from what they've said, I expect to see them up in a receiver's face at the line of scrimmage on most snaps, not just third and medium. I expect to see that on most snaps because they're saying that they're going to be focused on, challenging and being aggressive. So that's what I expect there on the outside. I think Elijah Molden will eventually be the guy that's the primary nickel. I like some of the things that they're doing as far as, putting Jayon Brown and David Long on the field at the same time, as you mentioned, in that third down situation. But then also one of the other things that really intrigues me is them bumping Rashad Weaver into three tech. And he's someone that, is a long defender, so I want to see how that works, inside on those guys who aren't used to going against long tackles, right? They're used to going against those shorter, squatty, fire hydrant types. So I want to see how that works. Bud Dupree and Landry, that's a nice front there when you got Dupree and Landry with Weaver and obviously Jeffrey Simmons. So I think it's going to be a heavy rotation on that line. But the main thing for me is seeing how much those guys' talent's outside. That's a must. It's a mandatory thing. And that should help the guys up front get home.
Well, TD, we finally made it. We've been looking forward to week one for a long time. Looking forward as well to your coverage coming up of the Titans and the Cardinals. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. And, I'm going to have to side with the other OGs, man, Glenn and Wyatt and PK. I think this year is the most anticipated one since last season.
Yeah, get him. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so but wait, that's fine. So you think that last year was more anticipated than this year?
Not more anticipated, but the most since last season. That's how I look at it.
Oh man, now
see, there we go.
All right. All right.
A lot of people on Team PK.
I'm coming in that press box raging on Sunday, TD.
TD, we appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right, take it easy.
Absolutely. Titans NFL Nation reporter for ESPN, host of Talking with TD, Teron Davenport, our guest, presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and Craneworks and RentalWorks. FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at FreedomTireGuys.com. Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rentals. Visit Craneworks.com. We'll be right back. We'll react a little bit to what TD had to say there. Continue to take your thoughts in advance of the Titans and the Cardinals. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Your favorite game, Silly Underdog Picks, is back. Get your friends or family and play as a group and sign up to play today. Pick the 3 football underdog teams you think will win each week for a chance to win weekly prizes like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com or the ESPN The Game Nashville mobile app and sign up and play now. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank, conveniently serving Middle Tennessee with 13 locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee.
I'd like to approach the floor, please.
Okay.
May I have a moment?
You go right ahead.
I'm gonna do this one time, and then we'll drop it. Okay.
Okay.
This is the sentence. This is how it starts. This. Okay, so 2021 season.
Correct.
This is the most anticipated Titans season in Nashville since. There's no wiggle room here. This season is the most since. So you are going back to the last time it was at least this much or that it was more. There's no wiggle room here. I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. Except all the people who correctly understand the English language and how to read that sentence.
Well, people just keep piling up against you on the other side, man.
Well, it's depressing. And honestly, I feel bad for them. You know, I'm going to flip this around and say I feel a little bit under attack. But honestly, I know I'm right. So now I feel sorry for all of you who don't get it. This is the most since. That means you are going back to – you can't go back to last year when it was less anticipated. If you think last year was less anticipated, that cannot be your answer.
Jim texting in on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe, you're technically correct.
Okay, we don't need to say anything else.
But you left it open for interpretation. If last year was a 5 in anticipation and this year is a 6, then it's the most anticipated since last year. It would be more accurate to say it is also more anticipated than last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, like Wyatt and Kaharski did that because again, when they gave that answer, I said, "Wow, you guys actually think last year was more anticipated," and Glennon does. That's fine. I mean, I disagree with Glennon, but like Glennon understood the assignment.
Okay.
If I'm technically correct, I'm sorry, but like I can't hold hands here. I don't know another way that I would ask it differently. Like, what would be the better way to ask it so there wouldn't be confusion? Is that like the other? You know, they didn't have confusion. I think Teresa and Beauclair. Teresa said 2009. Beauclair said 2000.
Yeah.
I think they would also say last year was really highly anticipated, but it wasn't as much as this year. So I'm going to go back to the year I think that it was this much.
Well,
it wasn't hard, and they did that.
You could say, out of all of the Titan seasons, including this season, which season has been the most anticipated?
Yeah.
Right, but I wasn't looking for number one. Basically, I'm trying to look for like how long has it been since? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you're right. That would work, but I'm not looking for what was number. I think number one clearly was 2000, right?
Oh yeah,
it had to be coming off Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Teresa and Beauclair had no problem with this. Glennon didn't either. And I don't want to rip on Wyatt because he's too nice, so I'm just going to devote all my anger and venom toward Kaharski. But TD, you really hurt me, TD.
Yeah, TD.
Hit me right in the heart, man.
That was a nice little punch to the gut for Rexrode there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those weeks. Blood pressure rising.
What do you think of what TD said? Double-digit sacks, the baseline of expectations for Bud Dupree, given what he's been compensated by the Titans.
Yeah,
I do not disagree.
Yeah, well, I think I said we've talked about this before, and I would say like if it's like 8 sacks and great against the run and has to be doubled all the time, and they have a lot of sacks as a team, and their defense is way better, then I don't think at the end of the year it's going to be like, Bud Dupree, what a disaster.
No.
You know, I would agree that in general, if you're paid $16.5 million, then and that's your position, then double-digit sacks is a fair expectation. I'm just saying I think that he could have a huge impact and maybe come up a little short of that, and it would be just fine.
Well, I'm saying double-digit sacks to justify the money you're being paid. I think you could still have an impact on this defense with the situation you're throwing out there. Now, is that worth $16.5 million. Maybe it is. I don't know. But
I mean, look, Pro Football Focus and even
true.
Titans coaches both think Clowney had an impact last year.
That's true.
You know, so, but it's definitely at that position. It's not like offensive skill players. I mean, even like Kevin Byard could have a great year this year and have one pick, right?
yes.
So stats defensively, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons could have no stats and be great. But that position probably is the most like stat-based performance position on defense. So I think double-digit sacks is – you got another game too.
That is true.
If you're healthy, 17 games, 10 sacks, that's – now, of course, he could have 10 sacks and they could still not be that good on D. He could have 12 sacks.
Yeah.
And they could, so what does he do to the overall picture? And that's where I thought Clowney last year was going to help that, whether he had sack numbers or not, and he didn't.
He did not.
But he's gearing up for a big year in Cleveland.
Well, he is, and we wish him the best of luck on that front in Cleveland. We'll see what happens. Can you believe that the line is 5.5? Like in Kansas City at home in that game?
I'm surprised. I mean, the Browns
Cleveland's
are good.
a good team.
Yeah. So I guess typically when you think two good teams who are supposed to be contenders in a conference play each other, that you have less than a touchdown line. I just feel like Kansas City at home with an offensive line that looks like it's way better.
Yep.
I would think that'd be a little bit more than a touchdown. It's the NFL though.
It is. What we
And
saw
you
last
just
night.
don't see big lines.
Tampa Bay
too
won by
often.
2 last night. So it's a
That's
competitive league, as they say.
What was that, by the way? That was 8.5?
It was 8.5 on our show yesterday. I think at one point it got up to 9 yesterday. So Cowboys covered.
Yep. It's all that matters, right?
Good teams
Cowboys
win,
Nation.
great teams cover, as Chase McCabe says.
Yeah, I saw a lot of tweets from McCabe.
He was feeling it last night.
Cowboys fan that he is.
It was a tough one for Chase McCabe last night. Interesting to see, and you heard PK bring it up earlier in the show, Christian Fulton. That's been something that I've been ready to watch once the bullets are live and things get flying. How does Christian Fulton respond? How does he play in terms of, we know the speed that he brings to the table. Can he recognize what's going on quickly and just be able to read and react out there? I know you've watched a lot of Christian Fulton this training camp, this preseason. You're pretty high on Christian Fulton based on what you've seen, and now it's time for him to go out there and prove it, because I think it's important for your second-round pick from a year ago. From that draft class, you need to get something out of that draft class, and interested to see Christian Fulton coming up on Sunday.
Well, I mean, I think I'd put him right behind Dupree because so much hinges on him, on the defense being better this year, on him being a big part of that, but also on from that draft class and down the road too. Being a foundational starting corner on this defense for a few years. I'm high on him, but I've got the asterisks too. I mean, I agree with Kaharski. Like, it is. You have to fight the urge to read much into what you see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times you see something in practice, and it does play out close to that in the season. But there's
And
plenty.
then you get Vanderbilt ETSU.
Well, right there you go. Yeah. Now, granted, I mean the NFL at college
It's
and
much different.
Yeah, but yeah, I was like, oh man, that Vanderbilt defense. Because the thing with Vanderbilt is, I knew that their offense had some success last year, so it's like, okay, well, it's a new era with defensively, and then we saw what happened with Fulton. I mean, that's the problem, is that he just didn't get to see AJ or Julio much in camp. He did get a lot of work. I mean, I'd say of the starters, he got the most work for sure, right? I think he absolutely did. They kept him out there. They would take Jenkins off. They'd take Byard off, Hooker. Fulton was out there. They're like, get him work. And again, I thought he played well, but how many top NFL receivers did he actually see in that time? Not a lot. So there's still a lot to prove and find out with him. I would say that it's an encouraging trend, but you know what's going to happen Monday if he gets torched for a couple touchdowns on Sunday. I mean, it's this is when it really counts, and all that we thought for the past month and even going back to the spring or whatever, it can it can be unthought really fast.
When we come back, we will continue to look ahead our final two divisions to get to, the NFC South and, of course, the AFC South as well. We'll begin with the NFC South coming up next. But first, I got to tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the NFL is back, thankfully. And FanDuel Sportsbook is celebrating with 40-1 odds on any Week 1 game. And who doesn't want to win $200 on a $5 bet? It's that simple. New customers get 40-1 odds when you place your first wager. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 24 hours. So we've talked about the Kansas City and Cleveland line as well. Despite Michelle's objections, give me Buffalo against Pittsburgh. On that line as well. But you take it any way you want to take it. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting the NFL on FanDuel. It's the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. It's easy to use, safe and secure, and they get you your money quickly in as little as 24 hours. So just sign up with the promo code ROB, and you could win $200 on a $5 bet. Once again, that promo code is ROB, exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. A max bonus of $200. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. 1025 The Game and Cromwell Media Nashville are helping our friends at WQMV in Waverly rebuild from the catastrophic floods last month. You can head on over to theGameNashville.com to learn how you can help, as well as the radio station suffered major damage to their structure, equipment, and more. We want everyone affected by the floods to know you aren't alone and to keep being Humphreys County strong. Of course, our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the people in Humphreys County from the devastating floods last month, and that hits close to home. I've got some family out that way, so absolutely. Just continue to be with thoughts and prayers with those people as they continue to try to recover.
And the Titans will have Waverly in for a home game Thursday and have done a lot. A lot of people have done a lot, Titans included, to help them, which is great to see. Speaking of thoughts and prayers, Terry McCormick tweeted last night a picture of him in the hospital with COVID-19. So send all you've got to Terry. We've missed him this week.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll see him. We'll see him in that press box or out on that practice field soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So continue to be praying for Terry McCormick as well. Joe, we've looked ahead at each division so far this week as Week 1 scheduled to get kicked off. Tampa Bay and Dallas got things rolling last night. And we're going to kick things off today with the NFC South. We'll get to the AFC South coming up next. And I realize Tampa Bay has already played, and they're 1-0. But I don't think the game last night changes my view of that division all that much. Spoiler alert, I'm going to have Tampa Bay winning this division.
Yeah, I think it used to be really interesting. Well, for a year. It was a 1-year really interesting situation with Tampa Bay and New Orleans. And a lot of this division story in recent years has just basically been Drew Brees, trying to get back, and boy, they've had chances and they've been hosed. It's the tortured division, the Saints, and then the Falcons, 28-3, and all that they did to try to get back in the last few years, and eventually, you're in that go for it mode like the Titans are in now, and eventually it gets difficult to maintain that, and they never got back either. And then you've got I don't know what the heck's going on with the Panthers, but they're in the division too. They're also in the AFC South, or the NFC South.
They are in the NFC South. Sam Darnold, the quarterback.
Yeah.
How do we think that's going to go?
I don't know. It's interesting that Christian McCaffrey is it's seemingly unanimous number one pick in fantasy. I get it. I mean, he's going to get the ball all the time, but I don't know if they're going to be any good at all. I'm like Darnold is. It's like so many young quarterbacks in this league. I do feel like people are so quick to move on and give up on them, especially like if they play for bad franchises. But I also have watched some Darnold, and I don't know. I don't know how good he is. Definitely going to be. I think Matt Rule's a good coach.
Yep.
And they've got, they're an okay team.
DJ Moore. They're all right.
Robbie Anderson, yeah, they're okay. But they're fourth. Well, are they fourth place? I don't know. Is it possible that the Falcons?
I think it is possible that the Falcons are fourth
most
place.
People probably, yeah, it's one of those two, right? Like
I would think so.
But the thing is, I think you could make the case that the Saints are going to plummet too.
Yeah. Well, if Jameis continues to throw the ball to the other team, it's going to be hard to win that way. Now, he had his LASIK surgery, so maybe Jameis is ready to go. Maybe he can see better, and he's learned. And by all accounts, from hearing people talk down there to Drew Brees himself, a year kind of hanging out behind Drew Brees apparently was very good for Jameis Winston and very beneficial for him. Now, how does that translate on the field, making decisions, throwing the ball? We'll find out.
I really look terrible. The picks 2 years ago. There was just some really, really bad decisions.
Yep.
It's not like he's been that guy his whole career, though. And he hasn't been number one pick good. But he hasn't been absolute turnover machine every single year of his career. That year was extreme. I think Jameis Winston has all the tools. I really do. All the throws, different speeds, great touch on the ball. I think that I'd be really intrigued by this team if the Michael Thomas stuff wasn't going on. Like if Michael Thomas was locked in and all good and looking like he looked a couple years ago with Kamara, I'd be really interested with a nice H-back blocker, trick play dude and Taysom Hill.
Although apparently Marquez Callaway looks really good down there. Like apparently he's just lighting it up, which that's the most Tennessee Vols thing ever is good player at Tennessee. Not an especially great player at Tennessee, but good player. And then he might be their number 1 wide receiver this year in New Orleans.
Yeah, good for him. And yeah, it's kind of like the Tennessee thing. Like, why then wasn't he utilized enough at Tennessee? But I must say, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was undrafted.
Really good player.
Yeah,
in college, I didn't see him making a huge impact in the NFL because he's not. I mean, he's not super fast.
Right.
Big physical, but again, that's not what it's all about. So it'd be great to see him have a good year, and they still have a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
It just comes out like if it's 30 pick Jameis, then they're much more likely to compete with the Falcons and Panthers for that side than have be within shouting distance of the Bucs. I don't think anybody will be though.
I don't think so either. And to your point about Jameis and the turnovers, I mean, 15 picks, 18 picks, 11 picks, 14 picks, and then 30.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a jump.
Right.
Now, none of those that I read off are great in terms of interception numbers, but 30's in a different world.
But if you have 30 plus TD passes and 11 picks, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, double figures picks, you can probably count on that. That's pretty established.
Now, he did have 5,100 yards when he threw those 30 picks.
Well, that's the thing.
He's just chucking it, man. He threw the ball 626 times that year.
I mean, they went to play the Rams, and the Rams were really good. They went in there and just trashed them. It was a little bit of a preview of what they could be with that defense, but also he was just great. I mean, he's an intriguing player in this league, and I think some people are probably too down on him and down on the idea that he could have a big bounce back. And I would think that a year of watching and working with Drew Brees could have some benefits.
Yeah, I would think so too. And he's got a running back. He's got a running game to go along with it. Now, they did just cut Murray, and looks like he's going to end up with the Ravens now. But Alvin Kamara, I mean, that offense still runs through him, and he's going to be heavily involved not only in the running game but the passing game as well. So, Jameis Winston has never had a back quite like Alvin Kamara to work with either. I wonder if instead of throwing the ball 626 times in a season, if you could get that number more down to the low 400s, probably be a little bit better.
Well, but also just having him as a great outlet in the pass game.
Yep.
He hasn't had that. So I imagine maybe more of those passes, even if he throws a ton, will be 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, and then you let Kamara take it another 10.
So with that in mind, how do you think this division finishes? What order do you have these teams? Is Tampa Bay at number 1?
Yeah, I'll go Bucks. I've just talked myself into Saints second. I mean, I think the Saints, unless Jameis is really a disaster, I think they're in their own second tier, but it's almost like tier 1 Tampa Bay, and then tier 3 Saints, and then tier 4. Like no one's in tier 2. There's no one contending with the Bucks. And then I would go, I will go Falcons, Panthers. It's a little bit of like I think Arthur Smith's going to be a good head coach in this league.
Yep.
I'm really intrigued to see Kyle Pitts. I mean, Matt Ryan is still a good player. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not an MVP candidate like he used to be. But I don't buy that he's out of gas. I mean, maybe I'm biased from watching a 44-year-old last night. Just
sling it.
I don't think, and his new coaching staff, new era, I mean, he still has some other good weapons as well. I mean, Calvin Ridley's a really good receiver. They're not good on D. They're not going to be good on D. But I'll give them a slight edge over the Panthers in the race to avoid the basement.
I've got the same. Got the Bucks, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. And I think the Bucks win this division by like week 14. I think it's pretty easily wrapped up for Tampa Bay this year. So we'll see what happens on that front. But now, the moment you've all been waiting on, the AFC South. We'll get to those predictions and the breakdown of this division coming up next. Take your thoughts as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. And later this morning, it's your chance to participate in the Nashville SC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores a goal in the game tomorrow, you win a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. We'll be right back here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 1025 The Game. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to check out Nashville's best deals. You can save cash with a purchase of a $10 gift card for Retro Snow for only $5. Nashville's original shaved ice truck, bringing back snowballs with creativity and pure cane sugar, dreaming up new flavor combinations and adding fresh, delicious toppings is what makes Retro Snow Nashville's original shaved ice truck. Go visit the first ever permanent location in the nations at 806 51st Avenue North. Open Friday 4 to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 7 p.m. Check out Retro Snow's truck schedule at retrosnowtruck.com. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Listen to that. That's incredible. Retro Snow, and then we had that was not planned.
That's pretty good timing. Pretty good timing.
There's the Canada's contribution to rap. Well, other than Drake.
Well, there is him.
There's Drake, and then there's MC
Drake.
Snow. You know, one 6 1, half dozen the other.
Who doesn't love MC Snow? That's a great song.
Great. So, well, it's.
It's a great song today.
Yeah, it's a fun song. It's fun to look back.
Robby and Rex are brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Now with 2 locations in Murfreesboro. Visit our brand new Murfreesboro location at 2019 Memorial Boulevard. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. So, Joe, we're finally here. We've gone through the rest of the divisions. Now time for the AFC South. And this is an intriguing division in some ways, really, because unless I am just totally blown away and all of us are shocked, it's going to come down to 2 teams, the Titans and the Colts. I like Trevor Lawrence, and I think Trevor Lawrence could sneak up and maybe get some people this year, and who knows? Maybe the Titans are going to be on that list. I don't know that Houston's going to be able to sneak up and get very many people whatsoever, but shout out to Rod Taylor. Hope he enjoys himself.
Starting quarterback
for the Houston Texans. So with that in mind, as you look at the race that we think is going to be between the Titans and the Colts, I like the Colts. I like the roster. It's just difficult for me to overcome the Carson Wentz situation. Number one, I don't have confidence he's going to be healthy all year because that's how his career has played out so far. And number two, if he is, I don't know what version of Carson Wentz they're getting. And to have that much uncertainty at quarterback, to me, makes it very difficult for me to pick them ahead of the Titans. Well, it really does.
And his availability could be jeopardized by the vaccination status too. So there's health, there's the refusal to get the vaccination, and then there's, okay, then if he's out there and he's fine, what is he as a player? It's a lot of questions. I still think if he's just okay, certainly better than last year, but he's out there, he's available, and he's still, pretty good, okay. That's a good enough team, I think, to make a run at the playoffs.
Agreed.
But I look, it sounds homerish. I don't think that the Colts are going to win the division. I don't think it's going to come down to the absolute wire either. I think the Titans are going to win by a couple games. I'm picking the Titans to go 12-5.
Yep.
We already had to do it The Athletic, like the division picks, and I picked the Colts to go 10-7, and I think that's about what they are. And I think the Titans, and that's, if you look at the Titans' schedule, 12-5 would be an achievement because, and again, this whole division has the problem this year of playing the NFC West.
Yep.
It's the worst possible, like when you're talking about competing with the other AFC teams for playoff positioning, you couldn't have a worse draw than playing the NFC West this year. And still with that, I've got the Titans going 12-5.
I've got them going 13-4.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I do.
You and Jared both, I believe.
I went game by game with the schedule yesterday, and I did it many times. 13-4 is what I've come out with. Look.
Do you remember the 4 losses you have?
San Francisco, Seattle. I want to say.
So there you go. Right there, you got the two NFC West. Yeah,
I think I might have had the Rams on there too, so I might have 3 NFC West teams.
Showing a little belief in Matthew Stafford.
A little bit of belief in Matthew Stafford.
Huh?
It may not have been.
He's
the Rams.
on my fantasy team, Robby.
That's true. It's true.
Robby would never draft him.
No, I did draft Russell Wilson in one league.
Yeah, not surprised.
Throw that ball all over the place, man.
But that's great. So, but 4 losses and you had 3 of them to there you go.
Yeah.
It's a tough schedule. But again, that's for the whole division. And again, I'm not even.
Well, Kansas City was one of them too. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And they still. So you got them beating the Bills.
Yep.
For example,
Mm-hmm.
you got them sweeping the Colts.
I do.
Yeah. There's hard games on this schedule. Even the Saints is like the extra game coming in here.
Yep. I just think this team's going to be really good. I really do. And look, I'm not saying that they're foolproof and that they can't tank a little bit, but I have a belief that the defense is going to be improved. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Like, I'm not saying they're going to be a top 10 defense or anything like that, but I think the defense is going to be good enough to where this offense, it's just really hard to stop. Like, it's very difficult for me to imagine very many teams defensively having success against this Titans team. And I realize it's a new offensive coordinator, and you can't predict injuries or anything like that, but if they can stay relatively healthy, I just don't really know how you stop this Titans offense. Like, it would take a massive screw-up for this offense not to be an elite level offense.
Yeah, if healthy.
Yes.
Of course. But I mean that's every team. Anybody trying to predict any team, like to me, like you start with
You assume with health.
Yeah, it's always assuming health. And I agree, other than the right tackle position being a disaster, they can't find anybody. They've got a bunch of backups and no starter, and they're bad there. That's one, I guess, question. I mean, there's always the possibility, a lot of leagues still waiting for Tannehill to be Miami Tannehill, or the Todd Downing thing. I mean, if Todd Downing is a significant and clear step down from Arthur Smith, and I do think it's a high bar and it's a tough act to follow.
Sure.
But other than that, if Todd Downing is good, they figure out right tackle, I don't see it either. I don't see many Sundays where they don't have a lot of fun on that side of the ball. And I'm with you on the D. I think it's going to be better. I don't know how much better, of course. Even yesterday, it struck me a little bit at the press conference. They had both coordinators. Like Shane, and it's not the first time, but it really struck me yesterday because it's like the season's here, and Shane Bowen is just so much more confident and vocal and secure in what he is doing. I think somewhere down the road, if Mike Vrabel writes the autobiography 20 years from now or something, he might look back at 2020 and say, yeah, I probably should have named a D coordinator or named Shane or whatever. I think it's been a huge benefit. Now, again, if they come out and give up 40 Sunday, then everybody can laugh at that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I believe it based on what I've seen now, that there's a big benefit to him being the guy. Everybody looks to Shane now. He doesn't coach a position. And we'll see how good he is. I never thought last year, should have been seen as like some indictment of his ability to ever be a good D coordinator in the league. Here's his chance now to respond.
Yep. So I'm going to assume the Titans are in first, the Colts are in second. Do you have the Jags in third for the division?
Well, yeah. I think the Texans are probably going to be 32 in the league.
I would say there's a good chance.
I think it's the Texans and Lions in a real battle for the number one pick, for whatever that would mean. Here's a question, though. It's like almost not worth talking. The most interesting thing about all that is obviously Trevor Lawrence, but then the whole Urban Meyer thing is fascinating. I'm a little bit less on the he's going to be a complete disaster thing, but I will be interested to see how he handles losing double-digit games in a season when that guy could go through more than a decade of college football and lose 15 games or whatever. That's going to be really interesting. But I will ask you this. In, let's say, 7 years from now.
Okay.
Who will have more division titles from now, this year, starting?
Okay.
Since people struggle with the word this. Not saying you necessarily, but, just in general.
Okay.
This year and the next 7 years, who will have more division titles at the end of that? The Titans or the Jaguars?
The Titans.
Okay. Quick answer.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Trevor Lawrence could be one of those guys.
I think
in
he
this
could
league.
be too. I think sometimes where you go matters just as much as your talent, and I don't like where he's gone. Now, is he good enough maybe to overcome that? Yes. But Jacksonville's a rough place, man.
Oh, it is right now. Yeah, and of course they've had to redo it all over again, and we'll see how this goes. I do think that it's possible if the Urban haters are right, and it's just going to be he just can't adjust to the program, then that's going to waste some of those years of Trevor Lawrence. But they're also going to get more high picks, and I don't think that they're like a hopeless roster. They're just several players away.
Well, and I feel great from the Titans' standpoint, and, lots can change. We know this, but I feel really good about this year and next year, them still being pretty good. So that's two, and it's difficult for me to look much farther beyond that, not knowing what Derrick Henry is going to be.
Because that's the thing. Part of that question is also, are we forecasting a Titans tumble in 3 years?
Yeah. I got somebody on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com that says Jaguars easily in all capital letters. Easily.
With
more
of it? Yeah. Okay. Is that Todd from Jacksonville?
It is not. He's a Titans fan. But how much longer is our window really open? I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question. I guess my follow-up would be, how much do you trust the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, and also, like, the Colts could win some, too. I mean,
yeah.
But, yeah. But, you know, the thing is, when your team is in the spot the Titans are in right now, it's kind of like life, right? Are you living in the moment?
That's right.
Like, live in the moment.
That's right. Enjoy it a little bit. Should be fun starting on Sunday against Arizona. And we'll have some playoff predictions and Super Bowl winners coming up a little bit later in the show as well. When we come back, we're going to replay an interview from the beginning of today's show. Pat Narduzzi, head coach of Pittsburgh, joined us as they take on Tennessee tomorrow at Neyland Stadium. Really fun interview with Pat Narduzzi. We'll have that for you coming up next. And speaking of the NFL, make sure you tune into this weekend's NFL Game of the Week on 102.5 The Game. Brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue. This Sunday's NFL Game of the Week is the Cleveland Browns taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Coverage begins at 2:45 with a 3:25 kickoff. We'll be right back. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5. The Game brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Remember FDIC, equal housing lender. We were joined to begin the show today by head coach of Pittsburgh, Pat Narduzzi. And he was looking ahead to the game coming up tomorrow against Tennessee. So it's Pitt and Tennessee tomorrow. I think 11 a.m. the start for the Vols tomorrow at Neyland Stadium. And we had a wonderful interview with Pat Narduzzi, head coach of Pittsburgh, earlier in the show. Here was that conversation with legendary head coach Pat Narduzzi. Between Tennessee and Pittsburgh tomorrow at Neyland Stadium. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in head coach of Pittsburgh, Pat Narduzzi, joining us to begin the show today. Pat, what's going on? Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
Hey, good morning, fellas. Good to be on with you down in Nashville, and Pittsburgh can't wait to get down to Knoxville.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Of course, the Johnny Majors Classic, which I know very important to both universities in this matchup. How much are you and your team looking forward to this game in Neyland Stadium?
We're fired up for every game. This is the one we get to play on a historic day, I guess, of 9/11 and the Johnny Majors Classic. So, our guys are excited. I mean, we get 12, opportunities every year, and this happens to be one of them against a great football team in a great atmosphere.
Pat, it's great to hear from you. Hope you've been hanging in without me covering you all in the last few years. I know that's probably been tough for you, man. But
Hey, Joe, you're the man. The only reason I'm on this call today is because of you. So appreciate all the good articles, all the bad articles up in Detroit and East Lansing.
Yeah,
not that I ever read any bad ones.
Oh, right.
Good ones, but
no, you guys never read anything. You never read anything, right?
Hey, Joe, you think we're kidding when we say that?
Yes, I don't buy that at all.
Don't.
Like you never read anything. You never read anything?
I would read a good article if my wife said read it. Other than that, I would never read anything. Like, number one, you don't have time, and number two, it doesn't matter. You really can our kids can get messed up. Our players can get messed up. I tell our guys to stay off Twitter during the season. I tell them to do not read that stuff. I'm telling you, it is bad.
It's like,
it can mess a guy up.
Well, it's like rat poison, right? I mean, that's like the Saban term. So the good can be bad poison too. But I guess I just always feel like if you always try to put yourself in someone's shoes. It's like, but how do you just totally block it out? Like how I understand I understand why you'd want to.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really simple to not. I mean, it's simple because it can mess you up.
Yeah. And
I think I remember, I forget even what the article was about, but I think you and my wife had a nice article at one point that I read, but those are, like, she's like, oh, you got to read it. So, and I got my dog. I'm at home this morning. My dog comes up. She's licking me in the face here this morning, Joe. I mean, she must know you're on the phone.
Well, speaking of your family,
let's get to business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and Donna, of course, I had to go through the boss to make this happen too. So I want to say shout out to her and your family, awesome family. But yeah, this matchup, Pat, you have seen Josh Heupel. You've coached against Josh Heupel a couple times recently. So without giving away the game plan and everything you've seen this week, is this going to be very similar in matchup, or is the personnel so different that you can't really look at those two games against UCF and take a ton from them?
Well, you can take a ton from them because it's Josh Heupel. And let me just tell you, you guys got a great football coach down there that's going to build something I think pretty darn good. Offensively, what they do is it's hard to defend. They spread you out, but I think the difference between UCF and what he's got at Tennessee is probably just the offensive line. I mean, so you're looking at different offensive line. They don't have a lot of depth on the offensive line, but if Mays gets hurt again or whatever, I know he got banged up last week, got hit pretty good. Maybe they don't have a lot of depth in the recruiting will help that, but their skill positions are like UCF. I mean, UCF had some great skill. Again, they can find them down in Florida. So, and I know Tennessee does. So their receivers are unbelievable. Their O-line's really good. The running backs are good. So I think the advantage they have is now they have an offensive line that's a Power 5. I think they're really good. So they're going to be able to protect the quarterback, which we got after them the last time we played him here at Heinz Field. and they got after us, the year before with Milton McKenzie down in Orlando. So they're a good football team, and Tennessee is going to be they're going to be somebody people in the SEC are going to have to reckon with for a while.
Pat, when you look at Joe Milton on tape, especially with the physical profile that he brings to the table and all the different things that he can do, I guess what stands out the most when you watch tape of Joe Milton?
What stands out is he didn't make bad decisions. Last weekend, he is big. He's physical looking. I've had coaches tell me just don't look down that end of the field and look at him pregame because he is beautiful looking. He's got a cannon arm. He's going to make every throw he can make. He's a big dude. So could he be more accurate? Yeah. But he is special.
So, Pat, over those years covering you at Michigan State, I mean, it was fascinating to me watching, what you guys did on defense. I didn't even realize the extent of this until last summer. Actually, I did a thing on Ohio State, because Mike Vrabel's here, and those guys were telling me that they had a coach assigned to basically studying your D. And, as you know, I mean, basically I think it would have been after you guys beat them in the Big Ten title game, they basically did your defense the next year. They won the national championship. Is your defense, is this basically the same defense? Like, is it significantly changed at all? Or is it still, that quarters as a base and all the exotic blitzes, basically the same thing it's been for a long time?
Yes, it's the same exact thing. I've got Randy Bates came in from Northwestern as my D coordinator. He's done an excellent job of leading the defense, our coaches and our players, to run the same defense. Again, I don't call the defenses, but I'm in every meeting and making sure it gets done the right way. So it is that exact defense, and we've had a lot of success with it through the years.
What I know that obviously in football, I mean, everyone, I guess, eventually copies everyone to some extent and adjusts to things. Like even the offense you're facing this week, right? Like a few years ago, probably harder for teams to deal with, right? Just because it was newer. But what is that like as a coach? One, to be able to be in a consistent system that's successful, but also to have your peers sort of borrow stuff like that, for lack of a better term.
When I'm retired, that'll matter. I mean, for years we didn't. All our coaches at Michigan State never went out and talked about our defense. We just, you weren't allowed, and I just told everybody, like, do not talk about this. Don't, you can talk about some of our, fundamentals and all that stuff, techniques, and, talk about our base defense, but we never talked about what made us special, which is kind of the way we blitz and how we did that stuff. People stole it off the tape, so, it's flattering in a way, but, I don't like seeing people use it against you to beat you either. So it's leaked out. I mean, Clemson does it, Georgia does it. You'll see them, run some of our blitz coverage, which, is crazy stuff. But people are doing it. And I know Alabama hadn't done it yet. From inside sources, they say he's still scared to do it because he doesn't get it. It's some scary. And if Saban's scared, that means it's some crazy stuff.
That's right. Oh, that's awesome. Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Pat, how, as a coach, when you have a quarterback like Kenny Pickett and just the tools that he brings to the table, the experience he brings to the table, how much of a plus is that for you and your group offensively when you've got a leader like that at quarterback?
It's a big plus. I'm happy we're not going down to play in front of 100,000 people with a backup number one, which we did a few times last year, or a guy in his first year of playing. So Kenny's experience, he's played in these big games. He's a leader. He'll manage that offense the right way, and he'll give us a chance to go down there and have a successful day.
Yeah, and on that matchup, Pat, I mean, it's obviously tough. I'm sure for both sides. You guys against UMass and them against Bowling Green. I mean, there's a certain level of just domination up front that you have in those games that now, that you're not going to have this week for either side probably, or in a lot of other games. So when you look at Tennessee's defense, I mean, what can you – They've got obviously a transfer at inside linebacker. Tyler Barron coming off the edge, some pretty good experience in the secondary. What is your assessment that you can tell us of that Tennessee defense?
I love their defense. They get after it. That guy 51 inside. I don't have my depth chart on me, but 51, their nose tackle, D tackle. That guy's a beast. I don't care who he was playing against. He was making them look silly. I like the way they play up front. I mean, for us to have success down there, we're going to have to control those inside guys and control the edge. I think their D-line, sets the tone up front, and they've got some guys that look like they can play anywhere in the country and be playing at the next level.
Pat, I want to get your thoughts on Rashad Weaver. Obviously, Titans fans here very excited about Rashad Weaver and what he could bring to the table. Obviously, a guy you're very familiar with. How do you think his game is going to translate to the NFL level?
I saw that outside linebacker name on the back, on the end of his name there, because it sounds like they're playing him. And I haven't watched much tape, Joe, so I couldn't tell you. But number one, Rashad Weaver is an incredible kid, just an unbelievable football player. I mean, and again, I can't speak more highly of him off the field as I can on the field. Like, he's a superb individual. It speaks to what Pittsburgh means to him. He's a Florida guy, gets 4 days off in the NFL, and he's back in Pittsburgh at our game last Saturday. So he's an incredible player. I think he's going to be a great player for the Titans. I think they got a great pickup. Like I said, I haven't watched any tape or to see how he fits into Coach Vrabel's defense down there, but he's a guy that's as smart a defensive end as I've ever coached. So it doesn't surprise me that he can be in that outside linebacker position, which maybe it's just a stand-up defensive end in the 3-4. But he, through the next couple of years, he's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and get smarter and more experienced in that defense.
So, Pat, I wanted to ask you just about college football. How are you feeling about college football right now? I mean, so much has happened just in a short period of time. Obviously, the portal's got thousands of names in it right now. You've got name, image, likeness. You got the SEC out grabbing, Texas and Oklahoma. Like, what is your state of the union right now in college football? How do you feel about being a head coach right now in this game?
Well, I'm glad I'm an old head coach. I'm glad I'm not 35 years old and have to deal with this for another 25 years. But it's chaotic right now, I think. Someone needs to get a hold of what's going on. I think that I think really what the ACC's done. I think our commissioner's gotten together, just with some other conferences, Power 5 conferences, and built that alliance just to try to get some stability and make sure this thing doesn't get out of control. I think everybody still loves college football. I think this country's not the same without college football, and I love pro football as well. But we can't have, college football, semi-pro football and NFL football. And we just got to make sure we don't lose what we have. I think everybody loves where it is. And I think, players, I'm happy for some of the name, image, and likeness stuff. I think it's going to be good stuff. Players deserve, more than they get. So I do agree with all that stuff. But we just got to get things under control and not let it get out of control. And I think it's starting to get out of control. And I think someone needs to start to lead, college football in a better direction than it's being led right now.
Do you like the, whenever it is happening, I think it's a when, not if, but the expanded playoff?
I do, but I think, I think there was some insider trading going on to get that whole thing going. I mean, all of a sudden, somebody steals two teams from one conference and they're also got their hands deep into, expanding this playoff, which might be lucrative to them. So I think there's some things like that going on that's maybe not so right, but I don't understand, as ACC head coaches, we've talked a long time on Zoom calls through the last year. You go from 2 to 4. Who goes from 4 to 12? I mean, usually you gradually move it up, and you go from 2 to 4, and then 4 to maybe 6 or 8 or whatever it is, whatever your magic number is. But you don't go all the way up to 12. It just seemed like a major move. And there's a lot of ramifications from it that sometimes people don't look at. They're just looking at one thing, maybe the money, but they don't think about the health and wellness of these players that are playing the game and what it does to them academically. I mean, they're still trying to get a degree. That's something that's important at the University of Pittsburgh, and it should be important across the country.
Well, Pat, we really appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Good luck against Tennessee coming up tomorrow. We're really looking forward to watching that game.
Sounds great, guys. We'll see you down there. Hopefully, Joe, I'll see you up in the press room afterwards, or what?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to find Donna before the game. She still doesn't watch, right? Does she still turn away for the whole game?
Oh yeah, she's not watching. She didn't watch the game.
But yeah, I'll find you. I'll find you.
I may just tell her to stay home and try to relax and have some fun or something. Go shopping.
Well, is she coming to Knoxville?
Yeah, she's supposed to be coming. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys play. Yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Pat.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Absolutely, you as well. Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi. So that was Pat Narduzzi on the show with us earlier, previewing Tennessee and Pittsburgh tomorrow. Great stuff there. We'll come back. We'll take your reaction at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. NFL fans, don't miss Nashville's best NFL pregame show live from Rock Bottom Brewery in downtown Nashville this Sunday. The NFL pregame show features Jared Stillman, Mark Howard, and former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. Join them from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. live at Rock Bottom Brewery on Broadway prior to the Titans taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The NFL pregame show is brought to you by TriStar Moving, Parman Tractor and Equipment, FreedomTireGuys.com, FanDuel, E2 Roofing, Hillside Medical, Social Furniture, and Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, presented by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. And we have some Nashville Sounds tickets to give away. And as we've done all week, this is an exciting giveaway coming up this Sunday for the Sounds as they take on Memphis, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals, at First Horizon Park. Not only can you win tickets to see the game, but you can see our very own Michelle Knezovic throughout the first pitch as well. Only a couple days away now. The pressure is building. It's real, Michelle. It's about time.
Not nervous at all.
No pressure. There is
Zero
no pressure.
nervousness.
60
involved.
feet is not far.
That's right. Don't tell that to Chase McCabe,
Listen,
who once again did a very good job.
but that's what you have to do. Do better than Chase.
I got it. I think a nice middle between him and Darren.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean Darren
hummed it in there, man.
Yeah, Darren. That was an extraordinary first pitch.
It was.
I would say.
Like Nolan Ryan.
I mean, look, if you want to take some pressure off yourself, Google like
50 Cent.
Denard Robinson first pitch, 50 Cent first pitch. Who else have we got? There's some beauties out there.
Golly.
I forget.
There's like the mayor of New York that one time. It was awful. Threw it sideways.
Was that de Blasio?
Maybe.
Yeah. No, you could. In fact, you could probably find a compilation of like awful first pitches. So that that's not going to happen, right?
Well, hopefully not.
Well, I mean,
we'll have to find out.
No, I have faith in myself.
Or you could try to just go straight up Nuke LaLoosh and try to take the head off the mascot.
Just chuck it in there. If you'd like to be there in the building at First Horizon Park on Sunday night, be caller number 3, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025, and you can win a family 4-pack of tickets to see the Sounds take on Memphis coming up on Sunday night. Speaking of the Sounds, busy weekend coming up for the Sounds. Tune in to ESPN 94.9 tonight as the Sounds host Memphis at First Horizon Park. The pregame show with Jeff Him starts at 6:50, and first pitch is at 7:05. Nashville Sounds Baseball presented by 312 Pizza Company and Farm Bureau Health Plans, taking on Memphis. First pitch on Saturday at 7:05, and first pitch on Sunday at 6:15. So a busy weekend for the Sounds.
Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of sports going on this weekend, and we are excited for it. Really good interview with Pat Narduzzi in that last segment. Took a shot at Nick Saban. It was beautiful.
Was he saying Saban is weak and dumb? Should that be a tweet? Should that be a tweet?
Maybe so.
I think
that's how I took it.
I may as well tweet something. I may as well tweet something to that effect.
Might as well.
Just half the stuff that gets tweeted off these interviews gets turned into a firestorm.
Could really get Alabama Twitter going.
But that was interesting. He said from inside sources, Saban is afraid to try it.
That's right.
So again, for people who don't know the context of this, I have written some about it, but to very much simplify, it is a 6-man blitz. I mean, this is the thing about it that people just that coaches can't believe. It's a 6-man blitz playing zone behind it.
Yep.
Which, if you think about that, like you should get torched for that. You should not be able to get away with that. I've seen him get away with that a whole bunch over the years. And again, they do all kinds of different blitzes. I mean, another coach has told me in the past, like it's basically like they play 9 in the box. Like both of their safeties are downhill against the run. Now, that depends on the offense too. I don't think you're going to see that Saturday. But it's an aggressive defense, and that's why I called shots. I think they're probably going to get to Milton some, but I also think Milton is going to have some primo opportunities to hit that defense downfield.
And he's got to make sure he hits them. And right now the line, Pittsburgh -3.5. We'll get to that coming up next in our inaugural 2021 edition of Pigskin Pick'em. It's finally here.
Boy.
Looking forward to that coming up next. And speaking of a little pigskin, NFL Week 1 is finally here. The recliner's ready. Now all you need to do is log into FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet. That's right, FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet just in time for Week 1 of the NFL season. I like the Bills against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you take it any way you want to take it. The money line, the over-under, the prop bets, the same-game parlays, everything is on the table, and it's one of the many reasons why America America's #1 sportsbook is the FanDuel Sportsbook. So if you're new to FanDuel, sign up today with promo code ROB and also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Yes, the time has finally come for Pigskin Pick'em here on 102.5 The Game. Joe, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Very quickly, let's update our listeners on how this competition went a year ago, because for you and I, did not go overly well.
Better for you than me. When you get me away from NBA, lines, and it's not good. So final standings for 2020, Morth, that was Marquise Munson and Ryan Porth combined, 52-49, 9-10 on locks for a total of 61 points. That went from start of the season all the way through the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Robby, 42-59, 11-8 on locks, which was the best of the three, 53 points. And then there's me, 41-60, so a game behind you, but 7-12 on locks for 48 points. So 61, 53, 48 were last year's standings, and we're all going to do better than that this year.
And keeping in mind, these are against the spread as well,
right.
So not just money line.
Yeah, so if you can be, basically if you can be like 60% against the spread, then you
doing very well.
Yes. You're Jimmy the Greek.
That is correct. So with that in mind, let's get rolling today on this edition of Pigskin Pick'em. We begin with a little college football action tomorrow morning at Neyland Stadium. Pittsburgh, Pat Narduzzi was on the show earlier. They are 3.5-point favorites heading to Neyland Stadium to take on the Vols. Joe Rexrode, we begin with you. Pittsburgh, minus 3.5 in this game. Which way are you going?
I am going to take Pittsburgh and give the points. I do think it will be a good game. I see Pittsburgh winning by about a touchdown or so. I think a big difference here, we focus so much on that defense. I think Joe Milton will play better. I think he'll respond. I think he'll actually help cement himself, but Kenny Pickett is really good. And I just have serious questions still about this Tennessee defense. And I think Pickett and his NFL tight end Kroll and those receivers are going to do a little bit too much damage.
Michelle, Pittsburgh minus 3.5 in this game. You going with the Panthers or with the Vols?
I'm going with the Pittsburgh Panthers because I love Pat Narduzzi, new favorite coach after that interview this morning. So I'm going Pittsburgh.
You and Nick Saban both.
Big Pittsburgh fan,
Pretty awesome. Give me the Vols in this matchup. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Tennessee's going to hit on some plays in this game that they missed against Bowling Green. I also think their defense is going to struggle against Pittsburgh as well. Look, I picked Tennessee to win the game before the season started. I'm not abandoning that pick in week 2. So give me Tennessee plus 3.5 in this matchup.
So you're picking them outright, too.
Outright.
Homer.
But I get points for the plus 3.5. If it goes that way.
You'll take the points.
I'll take the points.
You'll take them if they're there.
That's right. All right, Vanderbilt taking on Colorado State tomorrow night on the road. Colorado State, 6.5-point favorites in this game. 6.5 points. Michelle, we begin with you. Do you take Vandy or do you take Colorado State?
Listen, I love Clark Lee, but unfortunately, I'm not picking Vandy. I'm picking Colorado State.
Yeah, it's tough to get on that Vanderbilt bandwagon after last week's showing against ETSU. Joe Rexrode, give me Colorado State and make it my lock. I am locking in Colorado State minus 6.5 against Vanderbilt. Let's be honest here. Neither team all that impressive in week 1 when it comes to Vanderbilt or Colorado State. But I like Colorado State in this game.
I mean, this is my number 2 for my lock. Doesn't quite get the lock because I got something else I like better as a lock. But, yeah, Colorado State, less than a touchdown. I mean, look, Colorado State had a bad opener too, but this is at home at night, altitude, and then we watch.
Week 1 here in Nashville, Tennessee. The Titans are 3-point favorites against the Arizona Cardinals. I'll kick us off on this one. Give me the Titans minus 3 against Arizona. I think they're able to do just enough offensively in this game. I don't think the offense is going to be firing on all cylinders from the start, but I think a late touchdown separates the Titans from the Cardinals. Give me the Titans minus 3 in this game. Joe Rexrode, the Titans or the Cardinals? Titans favored by 3 in this game.
Well, first of all, I really am almost giddy to watch this game and actually see the Titans play football in a real game with all these players. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fascinating, and I'm basically on the same page as you. I think it's a good game, back and forth, offense winning over defense, and the Titans separating themselves maybe with a big Derrick Henry run late to win by about 7 or 10 points. So give me the Titans minus 3.
Michelle Knezovic, the Titans favored by 3 points in this game at home. Do you take the Titans or do you take the Cardinals and the points?
Looks like the Titans are 3 for 3. I'm taking them. First Titans game in Nashville, guys. I'm hype.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, Michelle's fired up.
So it's a Catterday and a Titan Day.
I don't think that quite works out.
Titan Day? I don't know. Okay.
Good effort.
Thank
Way
you.
to go. Very nicely done by Joe Rexrode. We now move to the individual portions of Pigskin Pick'em. You can take it college football, the NFL, a mixture of the two, any way you want to take it. Joe Rexrode, we begin with you. Your first individual selection here on Pigskin Pick'ems.
Yeah, I've been talking about it all week, and I'm going to jump on it. Browns at Chiefs. I like the Browns a lot. I think the Browns are very good. I think in a season opener at home, I'm going to definitely take the Chiefs minus 5.5 against the Browns.
So going with Patrick Mahomes and company at home. Michelle Knezovic, your first individual selection of the week is what?
I am going Rams-Bears.
Okay.
Rams are favored by 7.5.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm a Stafford fan, so I'm taking the Rams.
Taking the Rams.
And that is going to be my lock.
No, Michelle Knezovic coming out strong with the individual picks, locking down the Rams against the Chicago Bears. The Andy Dalton-led Chicago Bears, by the way. How long do we think that
For
lasts?
now. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a substitution at some point in this game. And then they'll talk, oh, Andy's still the QB, and it won't be long.
Give me Ohio State minus 14.5 against Oregon. I saw a little bit of the Oregon game. Was not overly impressed in week 1. Not that I was overly impressed with Ohio State either, and the row the boat that almost went on. But I think Ohio State rebounds at home. I think they look much more efficient with the ball this week. Give me Ohio State minus the 14.5 against Oregon. That 14.5 is tricky. I had to think about it, but minus 14.5 against Oregon.
I like that one.
Michelle Knezovic, would you like to lead us off in round 2 of our individual selections?
Heck yes, I would. And I'm going to stay with the NFL. Jags versus the Texans.
That's right.
I'm staying with my fantasy picks. I'm just double dipping because I've got Trevor Lawrence as well, so I'm going with the Jags. They're favored by 3. And Houston's just a dumpster fire. So
they are terrible.
We're going Jags.
Going Jags minus 3 against the Houston Texans, the lowly Houston Texans. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
That's a matchup made for like a Thursday night in November, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm going Cy-Hawk Trophy.
Oh,
Cy-Hawk Trophy. And I tell you what, I'm a little surprised. I understand that Iowa State has a lot of hype, and I think it's a very good team. Matt Campbell's a good coach. I'm a little surprised to see Iowa State favored by 4.5. Iowa State minus 4.5 against Iowa, which looked great against Indiana. I mean, this game's not going to be separated by more than a field goal, is it? I can't imagine. So. Please give me the Hawkeyes. I'll take the Hawkeyes in 4.5 points all day.
The Green Bay Packers minus 3.5 against the New Orleans Saints. I like the Saints. I like a lot of the roster they bring to the table. I don't know that they're quite ready with Jameis Winston in week 1 to hang in there with the Packers. Give me the Packers minus 3.5. I think the Packers win by about a touchdown in this game. So minus 3.5 for the Packers in this game. The final round of individual selections here on the first edition of the 2021 version of Pigskin Pick'em. I will lead us off, and I will begin by upsetting Michelle Knezovic. Give me Missouri plus 5.5 against Kentucky. The Wildcats favored by 5.5 on Saturday. Missouri, they cover that spread. I'm not willing to say Missouri wins outright, but I think the spread is a little too much. Give me Missouri plus the 5.5 against Kentucky.
Well, look at the irony here. That was my one I was fine. Oh, my goodness, I cannot speak. That was the one I was ending with. I've got Kentucky winning.
I figured
Robby,
you probably would.
How about that? Kentucky, Missouri, favored by 5.5. I have Kentucky covering.
So Kentucky covering the spread.
Happy Catterday.
5.5. What a Catterday it will be.
I love when we have contrasting bets
Correct.
like that. And let me just say, I think Catterday is going to be feeling better on Monday than you, sir.
We'll see.
But we'll see.
Underestimate Eli Drinkwitz at your own peril.
I do like Basilak.
That is correct. Joe Rexrode, your final selection of the individual picks in the inaugural 2021 edition of Pigskin Pick'em.
So I feel like I'm going to be searching this team up a bit this year. Actually, I cannot wait. I mean, it's going to be amazing when we get to pair this team up with Vanderbilt and make that pick. But Purdue at UConn.
Yes.
UConn is plus 34.
Yes.
Boilers lock. Boiler up.
Guaranteed.
The only way they don't cover 34 is like if it's like 45, 50 range, and in the fourth they absolutely empty the bench, and even then it's like it would take like a lateral play and bobbled Hail Mary and onside kicks and all that. I mean, I feel great about this one. I mean, UConn is just putrid.
They are dog water.
They are dog water.
They are awful.
Let's hope Vanderbilt can beat them soon.
That will be
so.
That's October 2nd. That's a big one.
Who's worse, ETSU or UConn? I think it might be UConn, really.
I think it's UConn.
I really think it is. They're bad.
I mean, look, the thing about the FCS and the lower levels, there's a lot of FCS programs that are flat out better than like a lot of lower level FBS teams. I think ETSU would thump UConn.
Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jim texting in. This is the most anticipated Pigskin Pick'em since last year. Good luck. Fun show today.
Oh, well
There's some
done.
truth there.
Well done. Well done. I'm telling you guys, I want the listeners to know. Next week, there will be an English teacher as a guest on this show. I'm not kidding. And we're going to dissect that sentence. It's going to be like, like the subject, predicate, the cat ran.
This has really bothered you.
The cat ran to the bathroom. Like, what's the subject? What's the predicate? What's the object? We're going to break this down. This is a right and it's a wrong.
Little Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, maybe so.
I love Schoolhouse Rock.
This has
So do I.
really bothered Rexrode today. He
Well,
is flustered heading into this weekend.
It should bother me.
It has.
It has, and it should. I mean, I got Jared texting me now. He's, I just woke up. How many people are trying to piss me off this week?
Spare few. Maybe get another Twitter fight this weekend. Maybe that'll happen.
I mean, I'm covering a Balls game. Do you think that's not going to happen?
That is true. When we come back, it is that time of the week. Time for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. Nashville SC in action tomorrow, taking on Montreal. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Guess the goal scorer for Nashville SC. If you get it right, you can win a prize pack and a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. We'll do that on the other side. We've got some Super Bowl picks as well coming up next. All that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's hooked in and headed in. Delirium. Yonder Cadiz.
Who's going to find the back of the net in the upcoming Nashville SC match? Robby and Rexrode make their picks to click for the match and welcome a listener to do the same. NSC Pick to Click on ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Camarena Tequila.
And it is that time of the week. Time for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. Nashville SC in action coming up tomorrow against Montreal. And the standings in NSC Pick to Click are this. The listeners dominating with 6 correct answers. Joe Rexrode in second place with 2. Michelle Knezovic, Ryan Porth, and now myself, Robby Stanley, all tied with 1. I've got 1 in a row. So on the board last week, we'll try to make it 2 in a row in today's version of NSC Pick to Click. And with that in mind, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in today's participant, John from Lebanon. John, what's going on? How we doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about y'all?
We're doing great. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. So who is your goal scorer, your pick to click tomorrow for Nashville SC?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the man who's been red hot all season for us, with Hani Mukhtar.
I'd say that's probably a pretty good pick. Hani Mukhtar absolutely on fire right now. John, good luck tomorrow. We appreciate you taking time to call in.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Mukhtar, a very popular selection in this competition, deservedly so. He is off the board. Robby Stanley up first in our rotation today. Give me C.J. Sapong. C.J. Sapong. He was close last week. He finds a way to put one in the back of the net coming up against Montreal tomorrow. Michelle Knezovic, you are up next in this rotation. Your pick to click for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila.
Last week was a fluke. Wasn't aware that he wasn't playing and he was not there. I'm going with Randall Leal again.
Randall Leal, the selection by Michelle Knezovic. Joe Rexrode, the final selection in NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila.
Now tell me, why is it that I'm the last pick?
Because you won.
Is this just like you want me to get mad about everything?
You were the first pick last time.
Is that right? Are you sure?
Yes.
See, the problem is I don't keep track of this stuff, so like you could actually totally take advantage of me.
Well, maybe I'll start.
Well, maybe you are.
Well, it could be.
Well, you know what, though? It did not work out for you, but at some point it's going to work out. Hockey Loba.
I know where you're going.
Hockey Loba. Let's go.
All accounts, he's practicing very well. It's hard to get in when Sapong's playing the way he's playing.
Sure.
So he got in with about 15 minutes left in the last game. Had a chance. I like that pick.
At some point,
he's going to score.
And it's going to, and Nashville SC fans are going to love it and go nuts.
Yep.
And maybe this is the time when it all comes together, and it benefits me too.
Wouldn't
that be great?
It is. It is. It looks like things are becoming official with the Big 12, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati. I'm forgetting the other one that's in there all of a sudden.
UCF.
I now call it AACS. It's the AAC South.
Yes.
Congrats.
Congratulations. I don't know if that makes that much of a difference in the Big 12, but hey, continue to expand. Why not?
You can still call yourself the Big 12, so for whatever that's worth. I mean, you've already been the Big 12 with 10 teams. Of course, the Big 10 is the Big 10 with 14 teams. So whatever.
Right.
College sports, baby.
So, Joe Rexrode, are you ready to make your playoff/Super Bowl picks? Who makes the playoffs in the AFC? And we'll get to Super Bowl here in just a second.
Oh, we're doing the whole thing. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, we've done division winners. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We've done division winners.
Right.
But okay, we're gonna do all 7 teams on both sides.
Right.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
AFC.
Yep.
Okay. So I got to type this up too, and type up when you get it right too. Okay. Bills.
All right.
Titans.
Chiefs.
Browns.
Okay.
And look, I'm switching now. I'm switching because I'm sorry, man. The Ravens, everyone on the team is hurt, and they're out of there for me now. So the rest of the playoff field for me, boy, it's tough. It's still tough. I'm going to take the Ravens out, and I know that may be overreacting, but I'm going to take them out. I've got the Colts still making the playoffs at 10-7. I've got the Chargers. I'm going to buy the hype to get into the playoffs. And I'm going to – this is actually really tough.
I know.
I'll go Patriots.
Mac Jones, baby. Get him in there.
Mac Jones. There you go. See? Drew Chester, Mac Jones love right there for you.
All right, I will go Buffalo. I, too, will go Cleveland. The Baltimore thing has gotten me all flustered. I picked them to win the division. Now everybody's hurt, so I don't feel very good about that anymore. Give me the Titans. Give me the Chiefs as well. I will also take the Colts in the playoffs. I'll hold on to Baltimore making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Give me Baltimore
I'm probably
in the playoffs.
overreacting.
And then give me the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. Not the Chargers. The Miami Dolphins are in the playoffs. I believe that's 7 in the AFC.
And no Steelers.
No Steelers.
Sorry.
You know what? I believe Mike Tomlin can do it, so that's fine.
We'll see.
I mean, bet against him and them at your own risk, really.
All right, quickly in the NFC, I'll start. Give me the Green Bay Packers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Giants. I will also put the LA Rams and the Seahawks in there as well, and also give me the Dallas Cowboys as my 7 playoff teams in the NFC.
Dak is back, baby.
Dak is back.
Two
NFC East teams, baby.
My.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go Packers. I'm going to go Bucks. I'm going to go Rams.
Okay.
I'm going to go Cowboys, which, I mean, I picked the Cowboys. And then I'm going certainly the Niners in the playoffs. And I'm going certainly the Seahawks in the playoffs. And you know what else I'm going? Give me the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, wow.
In the playoffs. Give me the entire
NFC
West in the playoffs.
That's possible now. That is possible.
I mean, the hard part is that they have to play. They have 6 games against the rest of their division. That's the hard thing. But I actually think they're a playoff caliber team. A lot of that will be, does J.J. Watt hold up all year? I like him. I think it's going to be good game Sunday.
So with that in mind, your Super Bowl pick, your matchup, and your winner this year for the NFL. Joe Rexrode, we begin with you.
Okay, so we're not doing okay, so we're just doing Super Bowl. We're not going to do like
Correct.
AFC time. Okay. Yeah, give me in the Super Bowl, give me the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, over the Packers.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
Chiefs over the Packers this year in the Super Bowl. Michelle Knezovic, do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
I'm going to go Chiefs as well.
Okay.
Over.
I really hate to do this.
Uh-oh.
Lions.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's it, Joe. Got me. Buffalo.
Well, wait. No.
I'm just going to go Bucks again, actually, then.
Okay. Or rematch. I think that's on the table.
And I'm going to say that the Chiefs win.
All right. Look, they get an offensive line in there. I think that's possible. I've thought about this all week. I've had a good feeling about this all week. I legitimately believe this. So are you ready for it?
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers over the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, my
in the
goodness.
Super Bowl.
Here we go.
I legitimately believe it. The Green Bay Packers take down the Titans in the Super Bowl. And what's going to be a really fun week for me.
What a wild season and playoff run it'll be if that actually plays out that way, huh?
Yeah. Look, I think the Titans are going to be really good. I talked about it earlier. I like them. Well, give me the Titans making the Super Bowl.
I think at this point, if we did the whole thing, I think I might pick the Titans to get the AFC title game. It's just hard. It's hard for me to – the Chiefs are just –
they're very good.
They're different. But
how often do you see a team make a Super Bowl 3 years in a row? Not very often.
And the curse.
Yep.
The losing the Super Bowl curse.
That is true. Not very often. We'll find out. We'll begin to find out the answers to those questions this weekend. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back with Reaction Monday coming up to the Week 1 in the NFL, college football as well. Darren, Donick, and Chase is coming up next. You're listening to ESPN 102.5 The Game.